Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's edition of the Sunday Wire. I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. We are streaming out live on 21stcenturywire.com, alternatecurrentradio.com, Rumble, X, YouTube, Facebook Live. We're also streaming out on BitChute Live, as well as the audio streams afterwards, iTunes, Spotify, and all the regular sort of podcasting platforms will be there as well. This is episode 590 of this weekly omnibus news analysis radio and TV program. And again, I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, we'll be, after the opening segment, joined by our teammates at Alternate Current Radio, hopefully on the other side. We may or may not have a full panel. It looks like we might. Looking forward to that. So you'll see Hesher, Ruckus, also possibly Basil Valentine joining us during the Overdrive segment. And after we unpack what's happened in the last couple of days, which is extraordinary, we'll be able to review some of the main points of this, plus a little bit more, and as well as some clips. And we'll be featuring the comments of our audience as well. We usually handpick some of the best hot takes from our viewership, which we'll pull off of the different comment streams and put those on screen. So we look forward to that. That's always going to be a lot of fun in the end, but in the moment, we're going to be on a serious tip now. There's just so much has happened with the so-called ceasefire over the last 3 days, and the ceasefire that wasn't really. It's war is imminent, basically, and that's kind of what I predicted, unfortunately, and I'll tell you why I came to that conclusion and why, well, of course, it turned out to be true. We'll talk about that, as well as look at some of the crazy statements that have come out of the White House just in the last, I would say, 5 or 6 hours. So it's just the level of insanity is just something else. So we'll try to make sense of all that and much more. And well, let's just start. Firstly, we'll do some housekeeping. And again, thank you guys for joining us. And hello to everybody. I hope you can see us on the X live stream. There's been problems. X has been burying the show. They did 2 weeks ago. They made it disappear, the live stream. So that was interesting. We did have a visible live stream last week, but heavily throttled as usual. But in the meantime, let's bring up onto the stage here. Just to point people to 21stcenturywire.com, you'll see a link on the show page. Or the comment descriptions under the videos on YouTube, etc., or just go to 21stcenturywire.com. You'll see our Sunday screening. This is every week we do a documentary film curated by our editorial team. Excellent documentary films each week, and this one is called The New Silk Road. And this is up at 21stcenturywire.com to give you kind of an idea of where Pakistan is. Very important geopolitical actor, Pakistan. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Certainly a big part of the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. That's why Pakistan is extremely relevant. And that's why the choice for Pakistan to host these, so-called peace talks. Didn't work out that way, but it was an important geopolitical move. Unfortunately, the U.S. had no intention of any ceasefire or any peace negotiations. They went in really just to get a few days pause so they could reload and rearm for the next attack. And normally what the U.S. do, and we'll show you what they did this time, which is incredible. Normally what they do is they use negotiations as cover to launch a sneak attack. And that's exactly what the U.S. has done here. And this is also an Israeli tactic, a favorite tactic of the Israelis. So we're going to bring onto the screen here. Hold on one moment. And bring our show graphics back on screen. And here is, one second. We'll be back in just a moment. Some technical difficulties. We'll just be able to sort that out. 1 second. Okay, and we're back. Thank you very much for rejoining us. So we're going to just look at how the situation unfolded here. We'll bring these up on screens. We do have technical difficulties from time to time, so just bear with us. Unfortunately, that happens. So just to get back to the task at hand here, and the theme for today's program, episode 590, is Fools and Horses in Islamabad. And we put out a tweet early on, I think it was just before these negotiations began, and it was this image of these two characters here. And what we said was, when you see these two grifters lurking around peace negotiations, you can be absolutely certain that there's going to be a surprise attack, and that there is going to be no peace deal. The negotiations will hit a dead end. And it's because these two shady characters here are basically unregistered foreign agents of Israel that have somehow penetrated the White House and are running foreign policy for the United States. I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds wrong, but that's exactly what's happening. And that's Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, two dodgy operators, two grifters, whose number one priority is Israel. And they'll tell Donald Trump whatever they want to tell him. They don't record anything. They don't write anything down. This is why all of these negotiations have failed. All of the Ukraine negotiations with Russia have all ended in failure. All the negotiations over Gaza, if you remember early in the term, all ended in failure. And of course, all the Iranian negotiations, and not only in failure, but total disaster and a war, basically. And it's because of these two, okay? These are Israeli operatives, basically steering U.S. foreign policy. It's incredible they've been allowed, Netanyahu has been able to position two Israeli operatives this high up to basically control the United States' foreign policy in a war zone. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable if you think about it. So I call Steve Witkoff the Del Boy of diplomacy. And if you're from Britain, you'll know what I'm talking about. Del Boy, only fools and horses. So basically a charlatan, a con man. But at least in Fools and Horses, nothing gets, no disrespect to David Jason, who's a lovable character, and so is his sidekick, Rodney. But and Rodney does resemble Kushner somewhat, But I call Witkoff the Del Boy of diplomacy. He has no business doing what he's doing. These two looked like they're completely out of sorts in Pakistan. Here you can see his little three-wheeler. Trotters, independent diplomats, New York, Tel Aviv, Islamabad. So there they are. So these two con men have just destroyed any chance at peace, really. I mean, you have to follow the pattern, folks. Okay. So I was asked on a number of programs before this. They said, "What do you think is going to happen, Patrick?" And I said, "Look, nothing positive is going to happen." I said, because I'm looking at the track record of the U.S. teams or the U.S. supposed committees, and it's ended in failure every single time, because of these two. These two, and the fact that Trump doesn't believe in frameworks, doesn't believe in diplomatic frameworks, doesn't understand anything about international relations, and he appoints people that are completely ignorant of how real deals actually get put together. Okay, I could go down to, just so you know, I could probably go down to an undergraduate international relations program in any university, that has that program, like Columbia or even my alma mater, Plymouth University. I could probably find, probably 20 or 30 capable undergrads that could probably sketch out a workable framework that's realistic and has a higher chance of success than these two clowns. Okay, these guys are not there to see any deal take place. These guys are there. These two are there to kill the deal. They're there to make sure that nothing happens, and that the only result when these guys are there is war. Okay, they're there to keep the war going. They're there to keep things unstable, and ultimately, who benefits from both of those at the moment is Israel. I mean, the Russia-Ukraine thing is just a side hustle for these two. They really don't care. They don't really know anything about Russia. Steve Witkoff can't even find Ukraine on a map. Okay. So, and he admitted as much. He didn't know the names of the Donbass regions when he was being interviewed by Tucker Carlson last year. I mean, so he's just been appointed special envoy. I mean, you might as well just go down and deputize your barber, or just some guy, some double glazing salesman or something, Jimmy down on the corner. Just grab anybody and call them a special envoy, because what you're going to get is about as good as this shady real estate developer from Long Island, who, again, has no business representing the American people because he wasn't confirmed by the Senate, holds no official position. He's just a golfing buddy and a fellow business associate of Donald Trump. And we'll show you their business in a moment. Steve Witkoff and his family and the Trumps have been caught running a Ponzi scheme. This has been revealed this week, and this is going to blow up in their face in ways you can't possibly imagine. So the wheels are going to come off this train if they haven't already, and we'll show you the details of that Ponzi scheme. It's a crypto Ponzi scheme. Very bad, and not unlike Sam Bankman-Fried's venture. I know, it's unbelievable. But anyway, we'll look at that in a moment. And this is going to be ugly when this reaches the level of, I don't know how these guys are going to escape this. But anyway, so we'll move on here. So I said there's going to be zero chance of success. And why would I say that? I said JD Vance was sent along to make it look official, because they didn't want to send these two clowns. They didn't want to send Del Boy and Rodney by themselves, because it would fail. Then they'd probably get blamed. At least here, Trump's very clever that Vance could somehow take the blame if there's a total failure, and they could easily push the Vance is disposable, by the way. He's not the heir apparent for the presidency. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll repeat that. JD Vance is cannon fodder for Trump. He is not the heir apparent for the presidency. He doesn't have the depth. He's 41 years old. So he's, politically speaking, he's a child. He's literally fresh out of college, hasn't done anything. He wrote a book, and he's gifted some positions in crypto or tech companies, by nature of the fact that he is a protege of Peter Thiel. That's it. In fact, he wouldn't be vice president if Peter Thiel didn't frog march him into Mar-a-Lago and tell Trump that this is your guy. If you put JD Vance as vice president, you'll have the support of the tech bros. And so Trump's smart, and he thought, well, there's some money there, and there we are. That's how you get extra eyeliner there, JD Vance. So JD Vance completely duffed up the negotiations. So I said beforehand, I said zero chance of success. Zero chance. People said, oh, that's very cynical of you, Patrick. How could you say zero chance of success? How can you do that? I said, well, I just go by the past form. Just look at the record. There's only one factor that matters in all of this, is that the factor is, can the U.S. restrain Israel? It's the only factor that matters. They would have probably had a ceasefire had the U.S. been able to restrain Israel. But what Israel did was, immediately when this was announced that there could be a ceasefire, they threw a massive fit. They deployed all of their proxies, like Mark Levine, speaking of fools and horses, although Levine's not a horse, he's more of a jockey, tenor. They deployed all of their surrogates to basically scream and yell. Israel wasn't consulted about the ceasefire. And so Israel went and does what it always does. It uses an event over here in order to do a massacre over here. And they've always done this. Whenever there's a big event or announcement, they use it as an excuse to massacre Palestinians in the West Bank, or to bomb Gaza and kill as many as possible before the media, the eye of the media, drifts back towards them. And then they did it again. They launched 100 plus bombing raids in 15 minutes in Lebanon, Beirut. They bombed neighborhoods in Beirut, including a neighborhood I used to live in called Ilam Raisi, which is right next to the American University of Beirut. These are not, quote, Shiite neighborhoods. Not that that should be an issue, but if we're working along sectarian lines, which the Israelis and the Americans do, why are they bombing all these pro-American areas? Maybe they just got bad intelligence, the vaunted Israeli intelligence. Anyway, they just went on a rampage, and they killed something like 250 Lebanese. But, Lebanese lives don't mean anything to people in America. It's just whatever. They're Arabs. Forget the fact if they're Christians, if they're Muslims, doesn't matter. They're Arabs, so, why should we care? And just let Netanyahu get those terrorists, basically. That's the general American attitude. So Israel did that, and then it forced, because Lebanon, a ceasefire in Lebanon was part of the original deal, and everybody saw it. But it forced JD Vance to lie. It forced JD Vance to come public and say, Lebanon was never part of the deal. Lebanon was never part of the deal. And it has nothing to do with Iran, said JD Vance. And why should Iran care about Lebanon? It has everything to do with the regional ceasefire. You can't. It's so funny that it shows you how stupid JD Vance is. And again, as a 41-year-old, straight out of the fraternity, straight out of college, effectively, at least that's the way he conducts himself. It's very sort of shallow, very immature, doesn't know anything about anything. It's clear he tries to wing it, not working. He just doesn't know, hasn't done the work, doesn't understand, and himself has no principles anyway. He's just there to sort of, kiss up to his boss and be loyal to Trump. During negotiations, Trump called Vance 12 times during negotiations. And Netanyahu also intervened, and that's where it got hijacked. Netanyahu hijacked the negotiations and made sure that they weren't going to go anywhere, and he got what he wanted. Israel always gets what Israel wants. That's the one lesson you can learn, again, from this. So Vance is not in a position to make any decisions. There's no autonomy amongst the negotiation teams. And normally, with a country like the U.S., it's supposedly a superpower, although it's politically it's not. It's subservient to a smaller superpower, which is Israel. But normally, the president will defer a certain amount of expertise to his team, a Secretary of State, plus his diplomatic negotiators, and allow them some leeway in order to negotiate on behalf of the country and the president. Trump doesn't run negotiations like that. What Trump did, so while this was taking place, where was Donald Trump? What happened to Trump? Where was he? Well, it turns out Donald Trump was at a UFC fighting match in Miami. This was so important while this was going on, that your president, who claims to be running the country, was here.
And then our main event, of course, and with us in the building tonight.
There he is with big, tough Dana White. There's your fancies himself as a gangster. So there he is for his photo op, ingratiating himself, getting a nice dopamine rush with his massive entourage in tow and his kids and everybody else. So while negotiations were failing in Pakistan, this is what Donald Trump was doing. This is where your president was. So it's just at this point beyond a joke. Okay, this is not a serious leader. Okay, this is somebody who has got a completely different agenda and thinks that he can run foreign policy from his Truth Social account or the 47 rapid response account on X. I mean, it's a joke. These people, this is going to go down so hard, folks. This train is hitting the wall so fast, and there will be a time, probably around or after the midterms, when a lot of people will be claiming that they never supported Trump, who were diehard MAGA supporters. And they're going to do so out of just pure political survival. Because what's going to happen is exactly what happened with Richard Nixon, and that is that everybody basically got out of the Republican Party after Watergate. That's what happened. So anyway, there's Trump. That's the score there. I mean, it's kind of a joke if you think about it. But unfortunately, we're stuck with this for the moment. And hopefully there's not too much damage. So here's JD Vance. Let's see what our illustrious 41-year-old vice president with no political experience. I mean, Obama had more political experience than JD Vance. Obama was a little bit older, and he at least held some other office, had been through elections. Vance did less than 2 years in the U.S. Senate and jumped ship after the people of Ohio, the good people of Ohio, put him in office. He then just took off and jumped on the Trump train, again, because of Peter Thiel. That's unfortunately what happened. So here's what Vance had to say.
Precisely what have they rejected here? Can you help us understand it a little bit?
Well, I won't go into all the details because I don't want to negotiate in public after we negotiated for 21 hours in private. But the simple fact is that we need to see an affirmative commitment that they will not seek a nuclear weapon, and they will not seek the tools that would enable them to quickly achieve a nuclear weapon. That is the core goal of the President of the United States, and that's what we've tried to achieve through these negotiations. So,
there's a couple of problems with this, and notice J.D. Vance's Israeli handler standing behind him, the Del Boy of diplomacy, Steve Witkoff. Just notice that. There he is, there to make sure that this goes nowhere. This is why Netanyahu has his people running negotiations for the Trump administration. Vance is just there to take the fall in case anything disastrous happens. And he probably thought it was a good photo op, but he's basically swung and a miss on his first time at bat. Not that he had a chance of hitting anything anyway, because he didn't. So he's there to sort of, they probably told JD it's going to be good for your profile. This is a high-level negotiations, but JD Vance has no decision-making power, doesn't understand anything about the issue at all, claims he does, but clearly doesn't. I could pull 10 random people off Twitter that can run rings around JD Vance. And so what's funny about JD Vance is this guy, when they landed in Islamabad, what did he do? Instead of preparing, he went and took a 4-hour nap because he claimed he had jet lag. These are not serious, is not presidential material. Okay. This guy's a joke. Mike Pence had more gravitas than JD Vance. Let that sink in. So, and again, he's spinning it. It's all about nuclear weapons. There is no evidence Iran ever had or was pursuing a nuclear weapon. Even our own U.S. intelligence assessment, I have to say this over and over, said that they're not. The supreme leader that you killed, Vance, you and your boss and the Israelis, issued a religious fatwa prohibiting the development of a nuclear weapon, but you just killed him. And now you're browbeating the Iranians, claiming that they won't give you assurances that they won't develop or pursue a nuclear weapon. And then you claim you obliterated the nuclear program just 9 months ago in June 2025 in Operation Midnight Hammer. You guys are not credible, okay? You're liars, you're grifters. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're talking about. You're flying around on the U.S. taxpayer dime. You're spending all this money. You're padding the military budget with all sorts of graft. 1.5 trillion plus another 200 billion, 1.7 trillion, almost $2 trillion. For what? To start wars that you're going to lose, that you are losing? Because that's the end result. JD Vance, I mean, he's really showing amateur hour here. It's beyond embarrassing.
Again, their nuclear program, such as it is, the enrichment facilities that they had before, they've been destroyed. But the simple question is, do we see a fundamental commitment of will for the Iranians not to develop a nuclear weapon, not just...
So they're getting caught in their own kind of pretzel of illogic, basically. And you see Witkoff in the background checking out his Rolex, making sure that his $10,000 watch is keeping time. I mean, these are con men. These are not serious people. Or they're not serious. They're serious about crime and grift and graft. And they're serious about Israel. But they couldn't care less about the United States. The United States is just a tool to use. As Benjamin Netanyahu himself said publicly or on camera previously, the U.S. is just a tool for Israel, and a malleable one at that, said Benjamin Netanyahu. And Witkoff and Kushner are there to make sure that Israel gets what it wants first, and America is just there basically for show, just to provide the gravitas and the theater.
Now, not just 2 years from now, but for the long term. We haven't seen that yet. We hope that we will.
See, they keep saying that Iran's first it was 2 weeks away. Now, JD Vance says, 2 years away from a nuclear weapon. So why didn't Iran develop one during the JCPOA if the JCPOA, as Trump claims, put Iran on the road for a nuclear weapon? Well, the JCPOA was 2016. How come Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon by now? It's been 10 years, JD. Wouldn't they have it already? With all this enriched uranium, and where is it? Doesn't exist. But what you've done in the last 6 weeks, killing Iranians, destroying their infrastructure, bombing their schools and hospitals, bombing their World Heritage sites, murdering civilians, destroying their own means of self-defense, which is their navy. You've given them every excuse, every rightful justification to have a nuclear weapon as a deterrence to protect themselves against rogue states like the United States and Israel. You have given the Iranian hardliners more justification than they ever possibly ever had, and more motivation to develop a nuclear deterrent like North Korea. And the choice by North Korea to pursue a deterrent was the right choice for North Korea. You can argue about whether that was good for their neighbors or security, but that situation's pretty stable as a result. But you can't have a Middle East where only one country is allowed to have nuclear weapons, which is Israel. And they don't even have to declare them, and they don't even have to be subject to any inspections because they get a special arrangement, special dispensation, no pun intended. This guy's unbelievable. So that's JD Vance still banging the nuclear canard once again because they don't have anything left. I thought it was the peaceful protesters that Donald Trump said they massacred. The mullahs massacred 45,000 peaceful protesters. What happened to that? That was fake news. Fake news. Invented by Trump, invented by this administration, invented by Israel and the Pahlavi royalists and their influencer agencies who spent hundreds of millions of dollars paying people to push that propaganda, that fabricated story. And, oh, they're on the verge of collapse. Oh, this regime change is going to be in and out. That's what Netanyahu said. So what these guys aren't telling you was there, which was in the New York Times, which was a meeting on February 11th before the war started. And the king of Judah himself, Benjamin Netanyahu, just bullshit in to Washington and forced his way into the Situation Room and sat at the table and started barking orders to President Trump with his head of Mossad intelligence, telling our CIA and our president how this war is going to be prosecuted. And here's all our intelligence, and it's ironclad, and all the rest of it. Tulsi Gabbard, nowhere in sight. She's trying to stay out of it. She doesn't want to hurt her political chances for 2028, so she's keeping her head down and her mouth shut. That's how much she cares about saving the world from World War III, but that's just politics as usual in Washington. And people say, "Oh no, Tulsi's inside. She's doing her best inside," or whatever. Listen, that's not going to fly. The only person who's made an impact, the only person that has demonstrated that they have principles in this administration is the only one to resign. And that was Joe Kent, Trump's counterterrorism chief, who is under Tulsi Gabbard. He resigned. He blew the whistle. He said what the problem was. He made an impact. If Tulsi Gabbard had resigned when Trump threw her under the bus publicly a year ago, after Trump said that he didn't care about the U.S. intelligence assessment that Iran wasn't developing any nukes, that could have potentially stopped the war from happening. But Tulsi Gabbard made a decision. She made a shrewd career decision. So you're appointed to a job as Director of National Intelligence, and the president throws you under the bus when you present an intelligence assessment about something that's highly consequential, the most consequential intelligence assessment, arguably, in the history of the United States of America, that the safety of the world might be hinging on. And your reaction is, after you've been thrown under the bus, to keep your mouth shut and stay on the team. Because somebody very high up, some wealthy Israeli donor, has promised her and others, they promised half a dozen people that they have a solid ride on the 2028 ticket. That's how you buy loyalty in Washington. You promise people things. during the next election cycle, because that's all anybody cares about in Washington is the next election cycle. And Tulsi Gabbard, unfortunately, is no different. If she was, she would have resigned a long time ago, because she ran campaigns saying that Trump is pursuing a reckless war against Iran. She ran TV ads 10 years ago, 9 years ago, saying all this stuff. So she didn't believe any of that. That was just a convenient tack to take at the time to cultivate the populist, anti-war, centrist, independent votes that she seemed to be after. Donald Trump purchased her and her support base, and it was for a very cheap price. He purchased her for very little. He got all of that, and all she got was basically an inconsequential, inert cabinet position called DNI, which does nothing, as it's been proven now, does absolutely nothing in the large scheme of things. In fact, that position didn't even exist before the 9/11 post 9/11 gravy train was put on the tracks in 2002, along with the Department of Homeland Security, the TSA, the DNI, etc. Just jobs worth for the federal government, and further diluting the intelligence conversation to make it so the bureaucracy is getting so ridiculously big and dense that it just becomes dysfunctional, like a Soviet system. That's what the U.S. have done with the global war on terror. So anyway, not to digress. So the talks ended in failure, and we could have told you that, and that's what we predicted. 0% chance of success. We put that out last week, or as soon as these were announced. And 3 perennial losers right there. So, and one of the reasons it was going to lose is because of comments like this. This was Trump on April 9th. There are reports that Iran is charging fees to tankers going through the Hormuz Strait. They better not be, and if they are, they better stop, says President Donald J. Trump. So someone finally gave him the memo after weeks that Iran was managing the Straits of Hormuz. This guy must have been out to lunch. Like, where's Trump been in the last couple of weeks? So he's not even engaged. Where is Trump? He's at UFC fights. He's doing photo ops with Dana White. He's not a serious president. He's a reality TV game show host, effectively, that's LARPing as a president. And he's absolutely run the economy into the ground and the global economy into the ground. He wants to start World War III. He's put the U.S. into a losing war that's going to cause humiliation that's going to be generational. This guy has delivered the collapse of the U.S. empire, this president. And it's because of stupid posts and tweets like this. And he's attacking his supporters this week. He attacked Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, even his most loyal lapdog, Alex Jones, who he called a low IQ nutjob. That goes to show you Trump demands loyalty, but he's not loyal to his core supporters, the people that personally sacrificed a lot, some people that went to jail for him. He's thrown them all under the bus. Because he himself, he claims he values loyalty, but he doesn't extend that to anybody else. It's a one-way flow of loyalty with this megalomaniac. But anyway, with tweets like this, it's you're already sending messages to the Iranians that you're not serious and that negotiations will fail. And a little bit shocking for the Iranians, because they're like, well, is this president even paying attention to what's happening? Did he just get told this? Maybe he was playing golf that morning and Witkoff said, oh, by the way, do you know the Iranians are charging? Trump was probably upset because he wanted a cut of that money. So that brings us back to the grifters. These two clowns. I said I put this out on X, and it did go viral. And there it is. That's the tweet. Yesterday, that's an old screenshot, 360,000 views. So I guess that resonated with some people. I think it's probably closer to 500,000 now. But yeah, so when you see these two dodgy grifters, shameless Israeli assets, lurking around, quote, peace negotiations, it's a surefire signal that a massive attack is being planned by Israel and Trump to be launched imminently. And oh, was I right? They didn't waste any time. They basically tried to run a scam during negotiations. Pete Hegseth scrambled two U.S. destroyers, the USS Franklin Peterson. They tried to pull a fast one. They did this to try to derail negotiations while they were in midstream. So this was the sneak attack that Trump and Hegseth planned. The USS Frank Peterson and the USS Michael Murphy. Hegseth announced they transited the Straits of Hormuz and operated in the Arabian Gulf as part of a broad mission to ensure the strait is fully clear of sea mines previously laid by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. So what he's implying and what the U.S. headlines were that Hegseth had taken over the Straits of Hormuz during negotiations. So the U.S. thought if they do this during negotiations, if Iran fired on these U.S. ships, they then could take the global media and blame the Iranians for breaking the ceasefire. That's what this was. This was a scam. And so by doing that, they could effectively take control of the straits. That was the plan. You can see the tattooed Secretary of War there, the Crusader, Pete Hegseth, the Red Heifer, Third Temple cultist, Pete Hegseth. There. Only this was fake news, folks. It didn't happen. And there's the spokesperson here. That is Ibrahim Zolfagari, and he basically said, CENTCOM's claims that American vessels have crossed the Straits of Hormuz are false. They're fake news, stressing that permission of the passage of any vessel in the strait lies in the hands of the Iranian armed forces. So, yeah, that's basically what actually happened. So this is a video clip from Iranian TV of the exchange with the United States. We'll bring this up. Here it is.
U.S. Navy warship 121. This is Sepah Navy station. You must alter course and go back to the Indian Ocean immediately. If you don't obey my order, you will be targeted. Out.
This is Coalition Warship 121. Engaged in transit passage in accordance with international law. No challenge is attended to you.
U.S. Navy warship transiting in the vicinity Fujairah Port and Oman Sea. This is Sepah Navy. This is Sepah Navy. Last warning, last warning, last warning.
Close to High Island Port.
Attention all vessels, attention all vessels, attention all vessels in Oman Sea. This is Iranian Sepah Navy. If you see any warship in your vicinity, keep a distance more than 10 miles from them because I'm ready to open fire on them without any warning.
Okay, so there it is. That's how that actually went down. So the U.S. warships did not go through the Straits of Hormuz. That didn't happen, but they tried. So they wanted to engineer a situation there and then try to take advantage to get the narrative. That would have blown up negotiation talks on the spot. As it goes, this kind of passed without incident. And they were allowed to sort of go through the motions of these fake, well, on the U.S. side, it was fake. They had no intention of negotiating anything, as you could see. The Iranians came with a fully qualified team. They did all the preparation. The U.S. showed up with no preparation. In fact, the U.S. hadn't really prepared a framework, so they relied on the Iranians' framework for the first 4 hours. Because whoever on the Trump team didn't do the work, basically. And Vance was busy taking a nap. So and applying extra eyeliner probably when he emerged from his hotel room eventually. So embarrassing is not even the word. So you can see they tried a sneak attack there. They tried to pull a fast one, basically. So pretty amazing. So we'll bring this back up on screen. So that didn't happen, and the Iranians pushed it back. So then Donald Trump had a temper tantrum this morning and basically said, put this up on his account here, and they put this up on one of their accounts. I think the Rapid 47 response, whatever it's called, effective immediately. So Trump wants to remove the blockade. So his solution to removing the blockade that wasn't blocked before he started the war against Iran is to blockade the blockade. Okay, makes sense, doesn't it? So he's basically threatening any ships that pay the Iranian toll, saying they will not be given safe passage. That's an implicit threat of force. And also they're threatening to interdict all vessels that have paid a toll to Iran. So interdict means board the ship, seize the ship, but that's done with an implied threat of force. That would include firing on those ships. So what you can see here is pretty clear what's going on. Trump's angry because he wants that money. That's part of it. He wants the money. He knows the sums, and he thinks, and I'm not speculating, folks, Donald Trump would like to run the transactions from his toll system on the Straits of Hormuz, probably through his crypto or a crypto exchange. That's a problem. So anyway, back just quickly, he's threatening total annihilation again here, as you can see. So that's actually happening. So here's the problem. This is World Liberty Financial. This is Trump's, his son, Eric, and Don Jr. and Barron. He's put his kids on. He himself is in charge of this as well. So this is a Ponzi scheme. This is Trump's crypto outfit. World Liberty Financial borrowed millions from a protocol its own advisor co-founded. Okay, online chain data shows that WLFI deposited $5 billion of its own tokens as collateral to borrow stable coins. It then sent to Coinbase Prime, pushing the lending pool to 100% utilization and leaving depositors unable to withdraw. That, by definition, is a Ponzi scheme. And that's the same type of Ponzi scheme run by this guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, FTX. You remember that guy? I'm surprised Trump didn't pardon him just to create a precedent to get his crew here off the hook. Now, if it only ended there, and it's not just the Trumps, Steve Witkoff and his sons. So out of the 12 board members or top people there on their team, 1, 2, 3, 4 are Trumps, and 1, 2, 3 Witkoffs. So 7 out of 12 are Trumps and Witkoffs. Have any of them put any stake in on this? No. This is a shakedown operation, the likes of which no one has ever seen. So it's not unlike FTX. This is a scam. It's now being exposed. This is not going to end well for Team Trump, I'm telling you right now. And there's a whistleblower from this operation, and we're going to bring him up on screen as well. And you can see for yourself, it's not my opinion. This is not about anything that I've new information here. This is all detailed here up on screen by Peter Gurnis. Okay, we'll bring this up on screen here. Peter Gurnis, there it is. Who is he? He says, I am the Web3 ambassador for World Liberty Financial. There are 12 of us on the team page. 4 are named Trump, 3 are named Witkoff. The page calls us the passionate shaping minds of the future of finance. Okay. 600,000 wallets bought our mem coin. They lost $3.87 billion. The family, however, collected $350 million in, quote, trading fees. It launched 3 days before the inauguration. 80% of the supply went to CIC Digital LLC and Fight LLC. It's all Trump organizations here. And World Liberty Financial sent 75 cents of every dollar to DT Marks DEFI. That is the family entity, the Trump family entity, or the Trump Witkoff entity. I'm not sure. They contributed zero capital, had zero liability. Amazing. But yet reaped all the money while the investors lost all the money, put up their own stable coins as collateral, just like Sam Bankman-Fried, in order to get actual capital. That's what it looks like, folks. Anyway, Peter Gurnius has detailed all of this here. There's the team. Witkoff, Trump, plus a couple of others. I mean, that's got 3 million views. So, I mean, that's out. Listen, when the Republicans lose the House and Senate, this is all going to blow up. And the Trump family will well and truly, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's not going to end well. That's for sure. So let's bring this back up on stage here. So Sam Bankman Trump, or Donald Bankman-Fried, whichever way you want to do that one. So here we are. So that's the least of their worries. And there's another interesting story, which I'll share with you here. But I also want to show you this. So what's Trump doing now? Who else is he threatening? Well, you're having a good week, so why not threaten China? Might as well. He hasn't threatened China yet, so why not start?
Well, if China does that, China's going to have big problems, okay?
So he said, she asked them, the press, if China's sending weapons to Iran, and Trump is saying, well, if China does that, they're going to have big problems. So the U.S. is allowed to basically send unlimited weapons to Ukraine, which they use to attack Russia, U.S. weapons, unlimited weapons to Israel, which they use to attack 7 or 8 countries. They use to commit genocide. They use to start undeclared wars of aggression. And he's going to get upset if China gives weapons to the Iranians so that they can defend themselves. It's just not going to work, Donald. It's not going to work. So you've got a megalomaniac here who just arrived in office a year and a half ago, believes he's, I don't know what, but a god of sorts, and that he himself is the sole hegemon in the world, and that everybody else has to bow down and capitulate. Otherwise, they're going to be in big, big trouble. What are you going to do to China? You're going to sanction them? You're going to raise their tariffs? Go ahead. The Chinese have already said, go ahead. They're just going to get on with it. And the United States is going to sink further and further and further economically, politically. And where does this end? Where does this end? All of the threats. So they're talking about reinstituting a draft. So the tattoo man, Pete Hegseth, wants to reinstitute the draft. And there's a little problem they're running into here. And we found this out. We might share some of this in this second part with you guys. I did some filming recently. You probably saw the report about Trump voters and the war in Iran. Well, this is a report here on NPR. There's a growing disquiet in the military. The Iran war has made it worse. So what's the problem? Well, here's the problem. This is an organization that takes calls for soldiers inquiring about becoming conscientious objectors. And this guy is saying it's been very, very busy. Says Galvin, the counseling director at Center on Conscience and War, which helps run a 24-hour GI rights hotline set up to inform service members about their options for military discharge. Most of the callers are asking how to apply to become a conscientious objector, a difficult, invasive, rarely used process, but they're voicing their concerns and frustrations about this presidency. So we can confirm, in addition to this, that enlistments are at an all-time low. People are not running to join the military under this president. It's not happening. So what exactly is happening? A lot of people want to leave the military. We spoke to younger servicemen, and some on camera. We'll play that during Overdrive, where people are backing out, even people who are on the sort of track to become Navy SEALs. And after the U.S. massacred the school children in Iran, a lot of people said, no, we're not signing up for this. So you got a little bit of a problem. They got a little bit of an image problem. That it's not the president's private mercenary force. It's not Netanyahu's private mercenary force. It's meant to be the United States Army, the United States Air Force military. And sadly, you have a lot of generals and officers and people willing to execute unlawful orders. This is an unconstitutional war, and the president is now wanting to drag the U.S. further into it by starting a naval war in the Straits of Hormuz, because he doesn't want to negotiate, because he believes that he doesn't believe he's in the wrong. They started a war that didn't have to happen. So where are these European countries? Why don't you sanction the United States at this point? So those are some of the main points that we are, covering on this, and there's just so many other different aspects to this. But those are just some of the few here. Fools and horses in Islamabad. There it is. The Del Boy of diplomacy, Steve Witkoff, and his sidekick, Rodney, Jared Kushner. Two dodgy operators who were sent and appear at all of these negotiations to ensure that nothing actually moves forward. Okay? That's their job. That's why they're there. That's why they're selected. That's it. Any further questions? No, there shouldn't be any further questions. That's basically the whole story here. Let's take a break, and we'll connect our teammates on the other side. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. This is the Sunday Wire. We're streaming out live on the Alternate Current Radio Network, also at 21stCenturyWire.com. We'll have a chance to look at some of your comments and see you guys weighing in on the other side. We'll be back very, very shortly. Stay with us.
Cover in the dark, secret wars are waged, quiet army sabotage, bloody tension remains, global faces of a crime, the sleight of hand betrays. Something slept inside their hearts.
in the final analysis, we all inhabit this small planet, and we are all mortal.
Lately I've been watching the world gone mad. Brothers and sisters full to take a stand, to hate their fellow man, another man. Divide and conquer is the acronym plan. Distract the people, control the story. Don't believe your lying eyes, you know me. Stay in power, no matter what. Playing with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gather your trust. Pushing us to turn to good. Corruption and lies. Truth is the crime, will turn to gold. Well-designed misery to keep you on edge, make you believe anything anyone says. Keep it left or right, not top or bottom. Accuse the victim, can't you see we got 'em? Stay in power, no matter what. Playing with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gather your trust. Pushing us to turn to good. We've captured rights. Feudals our time will turn to dust. To dust. Industrialized brutality, commercialized cruelty. People as commodity, cheer on war and atrocity. No accountability, perpetual impunity. Always have an enemy, to hell with all humanity. Stay in power, no matter what. Playing with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gather your trust. Pushing us to turn to good. Stay in power, cash in the spot. Playing with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and join the call. Pushing us to turn to good. An empire of lies. History rhymes will turn to dust. Digital inmates, scored on every move. Nowhere to hide, nothing to hold on to. Turn to dust, as we turn to dust, as we turn to dust.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Sunday Wire. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. We're streaming out live on YouTube, Rumble, X, Facebook Live, BitChute Live, as well as on the audio streams afterwards on all the finer audio podcasting platforms, iTunes, Spotify, all the rest of them. You'll find us on any of those every week after the show, as well, of course, for our live viewers at 21stcenturywire.com and alternatecurrentradio.com. I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. Thank you for rejoining us for this Overdrive segment. We're going to be joined by some of our teammates here at ACR. We're going to bring them up onto the stage right now. Let me see if we can. Yes, joined by our colleague Bryan McClain. Hesher is joining us on the live link from Texas and the great state of Texas, and also holding up the standard is Adam Clark, also known as Ruckus, again from the great state of Texas. Strong Texan contingent present on the program. Yeah. So, what do you guys think about the goings on of the last 72 hours? I thought we were going to have a quiet weekend. You know, we could stop and reflect about the ceasefire, right?
No, nothing like that. Yeah, you know, I was kind of just bracing myself all week while people just batted. It was like a badminton game talking about ceasefire, and the whole time I was just thinking, what do you mean sources close to? And like all the every there's not a decent source of any information coming from the US/Israel side about what the talks actually are. Like every single incident that you outlined in your opening section of the show was something I watched people ping pong back and forth on X and other platforms about, as though there were actual peace talks going on, as though like a ceasefire was actually possible. And not really. I mean, I think Ruckus kind of nailed it with our graphic here today. I mean, this is American and Israeli ceasefire talks right there. That's what that looks like.
So that's kind of an Uncle Sam Trojan horse at the gates of the Persian Empire there. Negotiations, some assembly required, peace, bargaining chips, diplomacy fragile, weapons all ready to fire, and some toxic radioactive stuff there in the back hind leg. So just a maniacal gremlin looking Uncle Sam there. I mean, it's and the Iranians are just like, well, you know, I guess this is more peace negotiations, I guess.
Yeah.
So
that's the face of ceasefire right there, as far as Israel and the United States go. And I'm sure anyone watching this program gets that, or is starting to get that if they're new around here. So yeah, it's kind of just, you know, taking that stuff all, you know, watching the accounts that I trust throughout the week to kind of re-level me after I watched, you know, the other sides going off, all the weird blue checkmark accounts and their 5D chess and their AI clips and their video game clips and, you know, their ridiculous pundit clips. I mean, it's been an atrocious week to watch. Of course, I hated seeing Lebanon takes so much damage and death in the midst of all this. Like Lebanon is really the place I'm feeling awful for at the moment. I mean, we've got so many places to feel awful for in our hearts and minds and souls right now. But you know, on the day-to-day news cycle aspect, it was like, come on, guys, don't you know, you're dragging a traumatized public through through fake hopium that's being used as a Trojan horse to go attack Lebanon, you know. And as you said, Christian areas of Lebanon, westernized areas of Lebanon, it's just so stupid that this
pro-American neighborhoods in Beirut. I mean, AUB, the American University of Beirut, it's right there. I mean, why? So something. I think that the wheels are just coming off everything. I mean, they're just running out of things to bomb, running out of people to kill, and you can see the true nature of the beast right now.
Yeah, it's sour, it's deflating, you know, and a lot of my friends that, you know, don't really follow this kind of media, don't watch, you know, the kind of stuff we do, are not media maniacs or you know, political bar hounds and flies like we are. It's just like they're coming to me going, what the heck is going on? Like from, you know, all sides of, you know, from the whole side of the political spectrum, from DGAF all the way to extreme right to extreme left, and in the center, mostly people in the center, you know, just normal blokes and gals in the center, just like, what is this? I mean, I had to verbally blow up one of my acquaintances in town, because on the day, I mentioned this on Boiler Room last night, but on the day that Israel had the ticker going and they were all excited about seeing a civilization wiped out. I had someone in town say to me, are you excited about tonight? And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, they're gonna destroy Iran at like 8 o'clock. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like, who would be excited about that? Are you excited about your tax dollars blowing up Christians and women and children and non-combatants? And she just looked at me like a deer in the headlights and said, well, I just want them to kill the bad guys. And I was like, well, who's going to be the bad guys in the history books? If your tax dollars were used to kill women and children and non-combatants and Christians in a foreign land that can't attack you or hurt you, who's the bad guy there? And she kind of folded like a lawn chair, pretty much. It was like, well, I'm busy with life, and I'm taking care of my mother, and I'm like, I'm trying to be kind. I'm like, I understand that, but you got to realize this is not right. This is not good. If you have any sort of anti-war bones in your body and you don't want to see innocent people slaughtered on your dime, you need to check your head on this.
Yeah, and I'll go to you, Ruckus, in a second, but just as an aside, I had an argument recently with somebody on this as well. I said it was actually on air, and I said, I'm not really into this America First thing either, because that means that if anyone is first besides America, that somehow that impedes on America, so they must be sort of put down, or that anybody's gain is America's loss. I said, why can't we be humanity first? Why can't America be humanity first? And why can't America want to see the prosperity, the stability, and the success of other people besides America first? I mean, that's, to me, a more constructive way forward in the world. And America can lead if it had that type of an attitude, and the world would be happy for it to lead if that was the attitude. But this isn't the attitude I'm hearing. This is at least at the Washington level, and at the pro-war gung-ho level. But at this point, folks, MAGA is just memes, tweets, and AI slop. That to me, that's what MAGA looks like, and bots. There's just all these bot accounts swarming my comment threads. Where do they come from? I have no idea. But Ruckus, what do you make of the last 72 hours?
It was to be expected, because, as you know, if we're paying attention, we really, really know what's going on behind the scenes. Iran asks for a ceasefire. America says sure. And then our girlfriend steps in and says that she's not interested. Of course, we know who our girlfriend is. And you guys were talking about the war crimes stuff. In case you missed my meme, speaking of memes, this is what's really going on is, unfortunately, we tried. He said, we're going to make America great again. And who knew he was just going to do everything that this guy does. We're doing everything that Israel does as far as this production is concerned with the Iran thing, including how the war started by, deliberately targeting schoolgirls, and how we're blowing up hospitals and schools and, the usual military targets. Sorry, only if you're the IDF do you consider such things normal military targets. So it's just all been, plain in my face. And I was far more concerned about what Hesher was describing there, how that lady was happy about it. I was not. When Trump came out with that unhinged rant about how he said civilization is going to end tonight, foolish because I should be paying attention. I fell for it, and I was worried. I really thought, oh my God, this psychopath's really going to do it. And I really thought that was it. And I was just like, is there anything I can do? Is there anything we can do? And I'm just like, well, shoot, I'm already like, what else can I do? I'm already doing what I do. You know what I mean? So I was like, but I was at that moment again, finally in my life, where I was like, oh my God, I feel like this is it. This is the big one. And of course, he didn't, and he pulled back, and then it's this nonstop back and forth. And my neck hurts just trying to follow this ping pong game of doomsday, Patrick. And again, we all know who or what is really pulling the strings in the background. And people are waking up to it, and they're talking about it, and they bring it up, and then Trump throws them under the bus and calls them low IQ,
I mean, so now you brought that one up, Ruckus. Let me just bring that one up on screen, because this is something I did not expect, but I should have expected it, but I didn't. And this is him throwing all those. These are his diehard supporters here. I mean, these are people that helped get him elected. These are people that took one for the MAGA team, right? And here he is in this tirade. Basically, we'll bring this up on screen, see if we can get a good view of that. Is that a good view, you guys? Is that legible?
Yeah, that's good.
So I know why Tucker Carlson, this is what Trump said, was yesterday or 2 days ago. Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have all been fighting me for years. That's not true. Alex has been blowing smoke up the back door of the White House up until last week. You know, practically supporting this war, supporting the Venezuelan debacle, you know, and all these other people supported Trump up until recently, guys. Am I wrong?
Alex bent over backward to his own detriment. He lost viewers over it.
Yeah. And also the J6 thing, you know, there's a lot of names on here that are not included, but including people that probably went to jail for Trump, right? So they've all been fighting me for years, typical exaggeration, especially by the fact that they think it is wonderful for Iran, the number one state sponsor of terror. That's an Israeli lobby inserted talking point. So that gives you an idea of who's running Trump's True Social account. It's somebody with connections to Israel, because they always include these caveats, and he's not that smart. And they can't be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Another Israeli caveat from the lobby, IPAC, because they have one thing in common: low IQ. So he's calling these people, many of whom are very intelligent. In fact, all of them are extremely intelligent. Whatever you think about Alex Jones, he's not low IQ. He's very smart. I might not like his politics and the fact that he was a cheerleader for Trump when Trump had clearly already gone off the rails. But Tucker's not low IQ, of course. Neither is Megyn Kelly or Candace Owens. Quite the opposite. They're high IQ. And I wouldn't compare them, Donald, to your IQ. That would be a big mistake on your part. They're stupid people, says Trump. They know it, and their families know it, and everyone else knows it too. Do they? And then he goes on saying that Brigitte Macron, the highly respected First Lady of France, who Candace accuses of being a man, the jury's still out on that, by the way, but that she's more attractive than Candace Owens. Are you kidding me? And he had
that was one of my favorite lines in there. I was just like, okay, this is definitely trolling.
Yeah, and Alex Jones bankrupted for the Sandy Hook thing. I mean, he's just like laying in on Trump. Doesn't have this level of granular detail in any of his takes, so somebody else wrote this. Then he goes and attacks Marjorie Taylor Greene, which is just, at this point, every time he does that, guys, it destroys him even further, because she's got a lot more credibility with his base than he does now, Marjorie Taylor Greene. And she was threatened, forced to leave her seat because she went against him in Israel. And he's still Rosie O'Donnell going on. And I mean, this is a joke. Maybe he did write this because it is pretty stupid. Third-rate podcasts.
Last I looked, Candace was in like the top 5 of all podcasts. Maybe I'm wrong.
So Tucker, Megyn, Candace, and Alex, if you add their podcasting audience up, it's probably 3/4 of conservatives.
It's enough to win the midterm elections, which they claim they care about right now. Yet these actions totally alienate, as if they haven't already alienated and intentionally fractured what was MAGA at one point. This just shows that they're kicking the dead horses, pissing on people and telling them it's rain. That if you wanted to fracture your base and lose this midterms, this is just yet the umpteenth way to do it.
And he says he probably did write this because it's typically stupid here. It's just ridiculous. They don't have what it takes. They never did. They've all been thrown off television, lost their television shows. Is he talking about the Daily Wire?
And Fox? Yeah, he's talking about those.
So the Daily Wire is already a ship that is already sunk. Okay, it's already sunk. Tucker Carlson left Fox, was pushed out of Fox, and became twice as famous afterwards. Candace she's increased her audience probably by about, I would say, tenfold, and she was already popular. So like, what's he talking about? Don't have what it takes. Megyn Kelly, they've all become successful after they left network television. That shows you the boomer mentality of someone like Trump who thinks the sun rises and sets on Fox News. Am I wrong? I mean,
yeah, and look at all of the campaign energy and personal narrative energy that he whipped up around himself, attacking television news, cable news, satellite TV news, mainstream media, essentially.
Fake news,
right? Called them fake news. Last night on Boiler Room, we were talking about this, and it was like in this one post, he's sitting there saying CNN says I have 100% support, and in the same post, he later calls them fake news, and it's just like, which is it? Like, it just depends. Even in a single post, like he can ride the wave of like, oh, you're a third-rate podcaster who, by the way, has more views than any CNN. CNN's views are all coming from hotel lobbies and airports and workplaces and stuff like that, and a few boomer homes. But you look at the if we can even believe internet metrics, which I find dubious, but we'll just put that aside. You look at, like you said, you add up the audience of all those people: Alex Jones, Candace, Tucker, Megyn. And it's like you're crapping on a huge, and it's not just crapping on those people and your base. Like, the people that watch those shows are the people that are trying to figure out what's actually going on, right? Like, those are actually fence-sitting people probably watching those shows. Some might think, oh, those are just hardcore Republicans that watch that show. No, that's not my experience. I talked to a lot of normal apolitical Americans that watch those shows that are smart enough now to know, hey, it's not about this side or that side, because they're both doing the same thing, and that's a little bit unprecedented in our current time wave, where everybody in the center is all of a sudden skeptical of both sides. I mean, that's a growing bubble that's going to burst.
Yeah, it is. That's the new reality, right? That's kind of where we're at. And it's calling them nut jobs. I mean,
and troublemakers, or are we a 6th grade class? What is this?
He couldn't even spell television right. Someone pointed that out. That's funny. I tell live vision. Tell live vision. Yeah, jeez. Here we go. Yeah, that's right. The sheeps. That's all that's left. That's all that's left. America First, PHL. Megyn Kelly was just following Tucker Carlson, becoming a legend, book now, etc. Persian. Here we go. Patrick, the Persian proverb: when the forest burns, the trees don't run away. I'm not sure what that means. I'm trying to think about that one. Explain that one to me. My brain's not in proverb mode at the moment, but so now he's citing CNN polls. I know exactly. It's just absolutely desperate. I mean, look, let's be honest, folks. America is not at its zenith, okay? America has fallen down the league tables on science, math, standardized test scores, skilled workforce. No one can afford health care. Ghetto cities, as this commenter, Cynthia Hall, is saying here. All true. America's got big problems. And Trump says we can't afford, on record, remember, he said a couple weeks ago, we can't afford Medicare. We can't afford this. We've got wars to fight. He said that.
We can't afford your health care because we have wars to fight. Did he mean to say wars to start, or wars I started? Not wars, military actions.
We need to fight wars for Israel.
Yeah.
We need to mobilize our military for a foreign government. And again, this is why enlistments are down. This is why people are not signing up to the military.
Who knows? Maybe it's why the toilets are clogged on the USS vessels.
Yep. Yeah, cable news is a spent force. Absolutely. It's not moving the dial. It didn't get Trump elected this time. Podcasters got him elected.
Yeah, all those people he just clowned got him elected.
Yeah. And a lot of the podcasters, he didn't mention Theo Vaughn in there, but he's basically gone against Trump, and he helped get Trump elected. He was on that Barron Trump list of podcasts. Patrick Bet David's still loyal, I think. He's still hoping for a cabinet position.
Yeah, he may get it in 2028.
I'm a numbers guy. All right. Someone explain to me this, Steve. Have I got this right? Okay. No, Donald. He's hoping for an ambassadorship in the Pahlavi regime when they install the new king of Iran. I mean, that's Patrick Bet David's in his back of his mind. He goes to bed dreaming about that. He's going to return to Iran in a blaze of glory as U.S. ambassador. Trump's probably promised him that. Probably, who knows? But but Trump should be a stand-up comedian. Bridget Matron is better looking than Candace Owens. Even toy boy Emmanuel Macron is better looking than Bridget. That's true. Macron in drag. Have you seen those videos of him in women's clothes? Actually, more attractive than his wife. Truth be known, many have said. Jesse Waters is a Zionist hack. Yeah, that's pretty true. Jesse Waters is a disgrace. Like how he could call himself a journalist.
It's sad too, because he actually there were moments, like transitional moments, where it felt like, he was actually doing a little bit, like I felt like I actually heard his own voice, and in certain open transitional moments, like, moments where the Overton window was nudging one way or the other, like he's had his moments. I'm not trying to big up him at all, because he is a Zionist hack, clearly. The money is more important than the journalism to this guy, but that's a guy I think that could have done real journalism. Like he could have, you know what I mean? Like look at Harrison Smith, for example. Harrison Smith, he left. Is he still at InfoWars? I don't even know, but
yeah, I think he is. Yeah,
there. Yeah. So it's like, Jesse could have gone that direction if he would have had an actual interest in journalism instead of just, being a infotainment celebrity.
So what do you guys think of while the big high level talks are going on, supposedly important, we're told, right? While that's going on, where's Trump? Like what's Trump doing? What's the president doing during these high level negotiations? And there's like, where is he? Well, he's here.
And then our main event, of course, and with us in the building tonight.
You should be coming out with an M60, full Camacho.
Of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
I mean, this is just stupid, guys. So not a big priority, is it? The Iran talks, right? Not really a priority.
No. He should have come out with a costume M60, shooting blanks into the air like Camacho.
Yeah, President Camacho. It's kind of a big FU to the world. It's like, I don't really care. We're gonna just bomb. We know it's gonna fail. We're gonna bomb them on tomorrow. Basically, what's the message it's sending out to the world is that he himself is not a serious president. He's not a serious leader. That's basically the message. Yeah.
No, it's embarrassing, is what it is, Patrick. I'm embarrassed to be an American when I see things like this. That is shameful. That is ridiculous.
Can I interest you in Hunter Biden versus the Trump sons in a cage match instead?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Is that happening?
At this point, I'm guessing probably that would and Trump would definitely be there, ringside seats, right?
Yeah.
Is the warm-up match Zuck versus Elon? I mean, jeez.
Oh, here we go, Daniel. Now the comments are heating up. Does Donald think Laura Loomer is sexier than Megyn Kelly as well? Is that a trick question?
I think we all know the answer.
Is that meant to be a trick? How is it that someone like Laura Loomer has more access to the president than his own wife, Melania Trump? And by the way, what did you guys make of that Streisand move by Melania? What did you make it? Was that just weird? Came out of left field, didn't it? It's
That
like
was
I do not know Jeffrey. I know the Epstein. We know friends. We only go to same party. And it's like she was covering up or preempting some kind of a disclosure or release, or some witness is going to say something that's going to implicate her. That's that. I wasn't even. It wasn't even on my radar. Like Melania Epstein. Why? What's the point? There's a war going on.
That does seem to be one of the talking points about what's going on here. There is a whistleblower who says she's known her for all these years, and she's the like ex-wife of what's his name, Ruckus? Can't even remember at this point. There's a whole like potential conspiracy / scandal brewing behind her coming out, and people are saying, "Oh, Trump didn't even know she was gonna do that." Yeah, right. Like the first lady can just grab the attention of the nation without the White House's approval. That's pretty funny, but yeah, it's sort of a developing story. This woman, I can't remember her name. I'm trying to find it right now, but yeah, very very odd timing on this one, and a lot of people commenting like, "What's up with? She's been here like 38 years, and this is not how I've heard her sound before." People are questioning her English, her motivation. They're starting to look into this other whistleblower type person. So this one's got a lot of mystery around it, Patrick.
Ruckus is shaking his head there in disgust, or is it in bafflement? I can't tell, Ruckus, which is it?
People baffle me. I don't. It's like they're like all of these things are new to them all of a sudden. A lot of things are new. Like, oh, I had no idea. This is all brand new. It's really wild to me. Yeah, her English is terrible. They don't do any of these things by accident. This did not catch anybody by left field. All of this is intentional, which leads me back to my theory that I guess both the Epstein files and the Iran war are a distraction from something far worse, if you can even imagine that. But I mean, let's keep in mind, I mean, a lot of the action going on with Lebanon was taking place when Melania pulled this little stunt, and that took some attention away from there. Similar, you know, all of these stunts take attention away from something, and I believe it's on us to try to figure out what that is. Ultimately, I think all of this stuff is just distraction from the collapse of the dollar as the world currency and all that fun stuff that we've been warned about for a very long time. I mean, we're already well past, like, I remember like back in the day, podcasters and Alex Jones folks would be like, oh, it's game over, folks, once the cost of oil hits, you know, fill in the blank. And we're way past, we're like two times that amount. Like, it's crazy to me. And everybody's just like, la, 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 la. Hey, I hope they blow everything up. It's just, it's absolutely insane. As far as Melania is concerned, if they did this for a reason outside of all of that, didn't you know, I caught some of the Q threads. It's all a coded message, Patrick. She's secretly really, I saw the headlines. It's out there. You got to believe it when they put the little emojis and breaking and sirens and no sources involved. But she's secretly Princess Diana, and she's getting ready to reveal to the world that she survived the accident, and this is plastic surgery.
Yep.
It doesn't explain the voice. Nobody's explaining the voice yet to me. Maybe she's just a really good actress or something. But it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Well, that's is that a QAnon? And that makes sense because the reports are that they don't actually live together, that they don't. Donald Trump and Melania don't sleep in the same bed, and that makes sense because they also said on QAnon that she's been Princess. She's the real Princess Di, and she's been living with JFK Jr. all this time.
You gotta love it.
Yeah, so that it all comes together. It all makes sense. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. Uncle Haas says here, I think as many people as possible can subscribe to this Rumble channel. That's 21 Wire. For the guys, you know, they deserve it. They really deserve it for all the content they bring each week. Uncle Haas is a warrior. We love Haas. He's in the UK. He's watching us live right now. Thank you very much, Haas.
Yeah, what up, Haas?
We appreciate the props and your passion. Haas is a powerful voice on X as well, and also a great live speaker. We hope to see him out on the circuit again soon.
Absolutely, loved his last visit here to the Sunday Wire as well. That was a great show.
Yeah, we have to do that again.
Hey Pat, before we move on, real quick, since I kind of threw it out there, here's the source. It's from Here's Why with Kevin Ortega Rojas, who I'm not very familiar with. The headline is Former Model Was Deported. Now she's threatening to expose Melania Trump. Her name is Amanda Ungaro. She's been trying to get the Trump administration's attention on social media. She claims she and Melania were once close friends, so close that she maintains a relationship with Melania's parents. Now she's threatening to expose what she knows about Jeffrey Epstein, Melania Trump, and President Trump, who she calls a PDF file, if you get my YouTube friendly drift. So, but, I got to say, we've seen a number of these types of, whistleblower type people come out. And sometimes it feels like they might be double inverted psyops. I'm not accusing this one of being that because I haven't read into it enough yet, but there was a couple that I did look into last year that were pretty dodgy. You know what I mean? Like they were saying the things that people would get excited about, clippable things about Epstein and other people. But then you go look at their social media and you start like looking through their history, and they're talking weird alien stuff. And I've been abducted. There's all this like shade on the narrative of this person that's so-called a whistleblower now. And I don't know if that's the situation with Amanda here, but that is the source for the odd theory I was throwing out there.
Well, yeah, that's that. Well, I hope she does come good on her threats of blowing the whistle on everything. We'll see. That certainly would spice things up a little bit in the right direction. Kim Jong Billy here. It looks like Larry Loomer, PFP. Trump is posting like a coked up stripper at 3 a.m. No arguments here, folks. No arguments here. That's pretty spot on analysis right there.
Yep.
That avatar is going to give me nightmares. Thanks a lot, King Jong Billy.
And here's one. Macron's wife has I can't work that. It's an emoji of some sort. Use your imagination.
It's like a male chicken.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you for the props. Yes. Well, there's other things about Bridget Macron in here as well. Wow. Eyes on Ben Gurion. Yeah. Briefly. Yeah. U.S. aircraft have landed at Ben Gurion Airport. We'll try to bring that up. So they're all lined up on the tarmac. Again, the war is just going to rage on, folks. Unfortunately, that's what it looks like. Anyway, I'll bring this. So RT's got some footage, I think, of all the U.S. planes. So they're basically lining up the guns. Yeah, here it is. Let me just bring this up for a moment. Yeah. So I don't know. What do you make of this? Let me pull this up here. Looks not great. It's not great. That's Ben Gurion Airport. See if we can enlarge that a little bit. Yeah, there's some footage there. So this is through the window. That's in Tel Aviv. So yeah, those are U.S. air refuelers, and it's also troop carriers. Those gray ones mostly are troop carriers, guys.
Yeah, that's concerning. I flagged just a random Instagram account the other day. It was last week, I think, actually, and it was a guy who was talking about some of the messages he was getting from some of his uniformed friends, and they were getting new orders. They were getting pulled out of what they were doing, and they were heading to the Middle East, so, and they were like support people. Some of these were support troops. So a lot of people suspecting that there is going to be an escalation, some sort of ground thing going on.
Yeah,
that airport is inside Israel, you say? Right?
Yes, that's Tel Aviv. So, because
it's a good thing it's protected by the Iron Dome. Everybody, calm down.
Yeah, the Iron Dome, Larry David sling. Yeah, lots of protection. So yeah, these are being tracked. So open source has confirmed. So they don't have staging grounds because Iran has trashed most of the U.S. bases. Do you think Ben Gurion's going to be safe from Iranian missiles? Honestly, that could be a one-way ticket for. I mean, the U.S. didn't even provide consular or evacuation support for all the Americans in the Gulf states. They just said, make your own way home. That was the communique. We're sorry we can't help you. They had a helpline. It basically wasn't answering. So like, yeah, where's all the money go in the government, by the way? Like,
didn't we just hear some news story, vague details on this very recently about how military folks, possibly contractors, were hurt, and they said that they were provided with no protection, and that was the big talking point and the point of the whole. You know what I'm talking about? Am I grasping at straws here?
I think so. I'm not familiar with that particular report, but it's something similar to that, Ruckus. That's what I heard. Yeah, and it's in the same sort of conversation there. So yeah, normally they're on it. U.S. State Department's on it, and they'll literally help you evacuate wherever you are if you're an American overseas. Nothing here, because they can't handle the blowback from what they've started, and that's the problem. This is why you don't go and start wars like this, impromptu wars, ad hoc wars with no real strategy. This is generally why you avoid doing that, because you can't manage the fallout. So what do you guys think of these two grifters here, Del Boy and Rodney?
Oh boy. Before I answer that question, real quick, Patrick, someone in the chat asked me to bring this up and underline it. Amanda Ungaro was formerly the partner of Donald Trump confidant Paolo Zampoli.
That's right.
And Amanda and him separated just 2 years ago. They have a son named G. That's an interesting one. But Zampoli is he's a modeling agency guy.
Really? Like Jean-Luc Brunel, right?
Right. And he's the one that is officially credited with introducing Melania to Trump. And I might be speaking out of turn. Somebody with the J files in front of them can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure his name was in the Friends of Jeffrey email files quite a lot. So, Amanda may actually be someone who is legit. And I'm sitting here looking at some of her X replies to First Lady Flautist 45. So, these are older tweets. But yeah, she says things like, I will take legal action against you and your PDF file husband. I've known you for 20 years. You knew I was detained by ICE. So the rumor is that Zampoli had told Trump to have her deported after they broke up. And that's why she's on the warpath here. And she has all this information. So, I don't know where this level of intrigue is going to go, but I do see some credibility in that might be tied to why Melania came out and did that weird performance this week.
Oh, you think she was preempting?
Yeah.
I think she was. It's quite possible. That's what they do in Washington. I mean, do you know anyone who went to pay money to see that propaganda film to bolster her image? I mean, that's also part of this, I think.
Yeah, she has a film out right now, folks.
Yeah, called Melania. That's just like is celebrating how wealthy and her jet set lifestyle. I can't think of anything more vapid than that anybody would watch here. I mean,
she has a keen interest in AI too. I think I might actually watch some of that to see, because I want to see if her speech pattern is similar on that versus what we saw.
Worse. It's today. Worse. It's far worse. I keep making fun of her. There's this super clip that's replayed over and over on one of these crypto conspiracy theory YouTube channels that I watch, and they play this clip that she played talking about the AI.
Oh, the AI.
She's taking a lead. She just sat on her duff and did nothing in the first time around. So now she's like the AI ambassador, trying to push it into schools. That's why we saw her with the robot. But she's like, there's a speech and she says, the robots are here. And I'm like, the who? The robots? Like what is she talking about? So yeah, her accent and that same pattern and that same speech. And it's like I have not heard somebody in a long time murder the English language the way this lady does. But it's a very interesting accent. And it's just like, it's striking because you realize, why is this like, because we haven't really heard her talk before. She was very silent and in the background up until just very recently, and it makes you wonder why.
She came to the U.S. on an Einstein visa, supposedly for like high IQ scientists, Like, how did Trump swing that? Or Jeff must have swung that, because Epstein was involved in the Einstein visa and the MIT world and all that. That's another thing. How did she get in the U.S. on an Einstein visa? Was Epstein involved? Epstein. So here's Tim Dillon, you guys. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Tim Dillon just absolutely smashed this. I'm gonna play this here. Tim Dillon, what a G. Tell me if you can see this. Okay, can you guys see that?
No, not yet.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna try to wait. We've got to remove this and bring this up onto the screen. There it is. See that? Okay.
Yeah.
So here again, First Lady saying she does not sacrifice the children to Baal and does not eat them. Melania Trump.
Good afternoon. The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today.
Correct.
Are you guys getting Erica Kirk vibes here?
Oh, yeah.
This needs to end now.
Stop it.
Is it the same people doing the PR management for her as Erica Kirk? Is that too far of a stretch, you guys?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it makes sense to me.
Okay. Here we go.
The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and
This is the wife of Donald Trump lecturing everybody on ethical standards. I don't really know what to say, really. This is just
respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation.
What reputation? I'm missing something here.
I never been friends with Epstein.
I never been friends. Stop it for a minute. What a great, I never been friends with Epstein.
Hey, Pat, can you pause?
I never been friends.
Yeah, hold on.
With Epstein.
Yeah, go on.
We're getting some reports that the video's not coming through. Can you unshare and reshare that so we're just positive that it's coming through? I got a couple people saying they're not seeing it.
Okay.
I'm seeing it. I don't know how you see it.
Yeah. I don't
know.
know.
That's coming through on the live stream. It might have been an old comment that
I don't see it, and it's also on
everyone
the live stream.
Everyone in the
no,
chat's saying no video.
Oh, okay.
No video.
Hold on.
There, yep.
I don't know how Hesher sees it.
Okay. What about now, Ruckus? Can you see it now?
No, it's just blank.
Okay.
Hit stop sharing and start a new share, Pat. That's sometimes it trips out.
Yeah, that's never happened to me before.
Our AI is hallucinating in the background.
Right. Okay, hold on. Let me see.
All right, we hear you, people. We're working on it. We'll start it over.
Okay, now, can they see it now?
All right, give us a thumbs up and a like and a share if you can see it.
It's good.
All right.
You can see that?
Yep.
Ruckus, can you see that one?
Correct. Everything's fine.
We're getting all yeses in the chat. We're good to go.
Okay.
What a great, what do you ever sit back and just go, what timeline are we on? Like, what portal have we gone through? Where have we landed? Everyone keeps trying to get the aliens going, and no one cares because this is all more interesting. No one cares. They keep trying to, they're like, another scientist was killed. No one cares. No one cares. I talked about it a few episodes ago. It's just people don't resonate with that because this is more interesting. The human drama here. This is the First Lady of the United States. I never been friends with Epstein. So go back to that. I want to hear that again, and then let's hear the rest of her speech.
I never been friends with Epstein.
Right.
Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach.
Okay, stop it for a minute. Here's what she's telling you. We're rich. We're rich. And here she has a point. Let's talk about her point. She's saying, I'm wealthy and I'm attractive. Many of you aren't either one of those things. So the parties you get invited to are like your sister's fucking.
I did not mean to do that, Patrick. I blew out your clip. I was doing something in the background there. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off there. I have a timeline you might be interested in, though, that might answer some of these questions you were asking about Melania's entrance into the United States.
Okay.
If I could put that on the stage. I'm so sorry to interrupt Tim Dillon. He's much more interesting and funny. But check this out. So that here's why Kevin account put this up, and it's got a full timeline, right? It goes all the way back to 1987. Of course, this is probably working off of his interview or whatever with Amanda, or his research on Amanda, but it goes back to 1987 when Trump and Epstein likely met. Definitely pals by 92. 1989, Trump is on Robert Maxwell's yacht. Epstein visits Maxwell in London. By 91, Ghislaine Maxwell had moved to New York and became linked to Epstein. Her father dies in November of that year. 1993, if we jump ahead a little bit here, Trump is on Epstein's flight logs for the first time. In June, he gets approved to turn Mar-a-Lago into a club. He is nearly bankrupt at this point. Trump proposes to Marla Maples in December and marries her within weeks. They have that first child. Epstein attended. Now, here's where it gets interesting. 1994 to 1996, Paolo Zampoli found ID models and meets Slovenian model Melania Nuss in Milan on a casting call, according to his story. By 96, Melania enters the U.S. and works, possibly illegally, in parentheses, with Paolo Zampoli as her agent. Zampoli says he got her an H-1B visa. And this timeline is very interesting. It goes on. I recommend people check it out and research it themselves, see what they think. But the timeline there is pretty detailed and interesting, Patrick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I'd be interested in is the Robert Maxwell connection is obviously serious, because you have to understand that Ghislaine Maxwell is probably the brains of the operation. And that wouldn't just be Israeli intelligence either. You're talking about overlap with British intelligence as well. So you got three. You got the U.S., British, and the Israeli. Israeli being the dominant factor there. So Trump was set up, I think, and his time came. His time came in 2016, and it wasn't a fait accompli. He became much more pro-Israel, even though he's very much married to the mafia there, but he became much more pro-Israel. I think Max Blumenthal laid out this trajectory of Trump trying to be more of an independent candidate in 2015, and then he basically got the call from Sheldon Adelson that that's not how this is going to work. And then you started to see Trump becoming more and more surrounded by a lot of these people, and pretty soon he himself just became a functionary for Israel as a U.S. president. And second term, he took the money. So he's always been in the Chabad, Lubavitch, and the sort of, the Kushners, married into the Jewish American mafia, basically. Charles Kushner, convicted felon, married off his daughter to Jared Kushner. I mean, so at that point, Trump and Israel were fused at that point. But what shape that would take was still coming into view, right through his first term, and then into his second term. So not all of this is completely written in stone. What I'm saying is it develops depending on what's going on in the world and the opportunities that arise in politics and geopolitics. And I think now you're seeing the culmination of that. I think it's safe to say you're now seeing the culmination of the level of penetration of Israeli influence and the Israeli lobby, but also the Israeli government, because the Israeli lobby takes its cues from the Israeli government, from Netanyahu, the prime minister's office, and from Israeli intelligence. They take their cues from them. So, and this is the culmination, a complete hijacking of the White House and using the entire U.S. military-industrial complex commandeered by a foreign country. That's what's happened. And to the point where they throw absolute tantrums if they don't get first dibs on missile interceptors that come up off our assembly lines. So that's an Israel first policy. It's practically written into U.S. law that we need to arm Israel with the latest technology. And so it's literally an Israel first policy, almost by U.S. law, if not by U.S. law. That's my counting of it. So it looks like a disaster to me. I mean, look at what happened over this past couple of days. Is that success? And just more threats coming from Trump. We're going to blow it all up. We're going to annihilate you. We're going to end civilization. We're going to send you back to the Stone Age. You either accept my terms or we're going to send you back to the Stone Age.
Well, should we not take that seriously when we look at drone footage and reports of what Gaza looks like now and what parts of Lebanon look like now and everything we know, we learned over the years about the whole region? Like, look at Syria now, look at Libya now, look at Iraq now, look at Afghanistan. Oh my gosh, how many years we spent there and what has changed? What did we get from it? Look, all these places have been held down by sanctions and bombings and wars and false flags and colored revolutions, CIA, Mossad, MI6 revolutions. Like, we should really take that seriously at this point. They say they're going to bomb them back to the Stone Age. They've already bombed a bunch of places back to the Stone Age. And the places they haven't bombed back to the Stone Age, they've been trying to keep as third world countries, via sanctions and psychological operations and guerrilla warfare. So, yeah, when he says we're going to turn it into, rubble, we should take that pretty seriously and really think about whether we want that to happen and whether we're cool with what's already happened in the Middle East. We got a lot of veterans here that are missing limbs. We got a lot of families of veterans here that are missing their family members over these wars. And, this is the time to have a gut check about that, America. This is the time, because people are getting called to the Middle East right now and kind of wondering what kind of operation they're going to be going on. And guess what? They've fired all the generals. We're up to 24 last I looked. I liked what Daniel McAdams had to say about the firing of generals. He's been on top of that. You should follow his X account if you're not. Mm-hmm. It's one that's definitely worth following, along with at 21 Wire and at Hesher Media and at AC_wordslinger. But yeah, they've fired all the people that don't, you know what I mean? It's like the old Chinese proverb that creative accidents dropped on us a few weeks ago. You're basically walking a deer into the war room and saying, hey, this is my new horse. You cool with that? And anybody that says, clearly, Mr. Hegseth, that's a deer. Well, you're fired, sir. You have the most experience in this region, but you're fired because this is my horse. I mean, that's where we're at. So don't expect any knowledgeable, even if you supported this war, all the generals that were knowledgeable about, well, frankly, why we should not do that. But, if we were going to, what might happen or how to best go about it with minimizing losses of life and stuff like that. Guess what? Those people are all fired.
Yeah. And so the chances of a military coup, which I would never be calling for a military coup in America, of all places, right? But what are the options at the moment? I mean, to me, it's kind of a serious moment in history. And I don't see the Democrats as a serious opposition. I just don't, because they're kind of bought and paid for by the same interests as the White House for the most part. So
meanwhile, how many decades ago was Alex Jones screaming about whatever politics was happening at the time and saying 1776 is the answer to 1984?
Yeah,
I'm like, where's that spirit anymore?
Yeah, well, that was before MAGA. That was before Trump 47, and suddenly 1776 just kind of became a title of a Trump mem coin company, I think, or something. Oh no, he sent $7,776 to veterans to show how patriotic he was with a stimulus check. So again, shoring up the military community before the war. That was a smart move, wasn't it? So here's a comment here. I'll just comment on this quickly. It's the Brookings Gospel and Prophecy Papers. Baba Berletic told me so. So someone's taking a jibe there. Bryan Berletic, host of the New Atlas, because Bryan Berletic, who I have a lot of time for, he is a brilliant military analyst, and he's been on this show previously, and we published articles by him. He is a great guy. However, he's kind of gone on a bit of a tirade recently. He's attacking anybody. He publicly kind of attacked everyone in alternative media that's saying that the Israeli tail is wagging the U.S. imperial dog. And he said that no, it's not true. This is U.S. empire, and he's kind of insinuating that to basically insinuate that Israel is the tail wagging the dog, that's anti-Semitic, and that people are just doing it because they want to go after the Jews. Not true. But he's really made an impassioned kind of attack on this point. And what he's done is tried to divide the alternative communities, kind of into two camps on this really what is a kind of a nuanced type of analytical issue, really, if you think about it. But and he'll say his main argument is it's in the Brookings Institute paper in 2010, Which Path to Persia. It says they're going to undermine they're going to do an Iran nuclear deal, and then they're going to cancel it and blame it on the Iranians. And it's it's a continuity of policy. You see, look, and he points to it and highlights it, and his entire argument is based around that's a U.S. empire continuity of agenda. It's in the Brookings Institute paper. There it is. That's the proof. Debate over. But that's not really a real argument. Why? Because how do you know that's not Israel's continuity of agenda? Question. And so what I did is just go look at who funds the Brookings Institute. And lo and behold, my life already. the biggest Israeli donors in the United States. So that's why you have to be careful when you're doing these desktop analytical analyses. If you're biased, you won't look for the Israeli funding. The top Israeli donor, the top number one, is Brookings's main sugar daddy. So then they hire all their fellows based on their allegiance to Israel. So what looks like a U.S. imperial think tank is actually a Zionist think tank. So continuity of agenda, yeah, but whose continuity of agenda? So, I mean, that's just like a simple exercise of why you have to be careful with some people making some of these arguments. People get hung up on the evidence. They see the paper and then you push it in their face enough and you tell them that's where the paper means, but it's not what the paper means. We should have learned that during COVID. Who's funding the studies? Yes, these are not objective studies. They're there for a reason. They become policy, and look at where the money's coming from. Yeah, they get Brookings and others, Heritage, they get funded by the defense industry. That's true as well. They're definitely a beneficiary, definitely U.S. military industrial complex. But again, so his whole argument falls flat on its face under just basic scrutiny on that. And the other thing is, if you actually spend time in Washington, which I have, and if you've actually, you're involved in U.S. politics on the ground, which I have been, I know how wide and massive the Israeli influence operation is and how well funded it is. and it's much more now than it ever has been. And anybody who's actually involved in Washington politics will tell you that. Mary Madelson doesn't throw $250 million at Trump for nothing. They expect something in return. And total Israeli donations to the Republican campaigns was $600 million, over $500 million just from Israeli-linked contributions just to Republican campaigns, including the White House in the last election cycle. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if the mafia was handing out 600, let's just change it, guys. Let's say it's not the Israeli lobby handing out the 600 million. Let's just say it's the Mexican cartels handing out the 600 million. Do you think the Mexican cartels want something in return for that money? Do you think they would? Is that a safe assumption? And let's say lax border control policies, cut down the budget of border patrol, open borders, automatic asylum applications accepted, all that stuff. All the human trafficking and decriminalization of drug seizures below a certain amount at the border, all that stuff. Do you think?
Man, those cartels create indentured servants for life out of people that are trying to scrape up like $1,500 to get a coyote to bring them over the border.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for if you're an indentured servant for life or for 10 years for that, just imagine what, near $500 million will do.
So what do you think Israel wants for $500 million into U.S. coffers, campaign coffers? They want it all.
Everything. They want full panopticon technocracy. That's why all the tech bros are there sitting next to Miriam. They want central banking digital currency, stablecoin sort of thing, tracked surveillance, full biometrics. They want a North American Union. They don't want a North America. They don't want a United States of America. They want a North American Union. They want a technate. They want to control everybody. They want control of the food supply, the energy supply, the money supply, so that they can, craft their fake utopia, which is a hellscape.
Well, okay. Well, you could be talking about the globalists there or the technocrats that include within those a lot of leading Zionists.
Yep.
Like Alex Karp and Peter Thiel and all these other guys. But what does Israel want specifically for that money? They want supplemental funding packages from Congress. They want first dibs on U.S. Patriot missile replenishments, batteries. They want full intelligence sharing. They want to be involved in the selection of the cabinet of the President of the United States. And they got all those things. And they want foreign policy, decision-making, veto power. They got it all. They want the recognition of the West Bank, the Golan Heights. They want, what else do they want? They want impunity in Gaza, full U.S. support. So if you're making this argument that the tail doesn't wag the dog, it's not a serious argument. And I would even say, if you're making that argument too hard and you're attacking people for pointing out the obvious coup that's taken place in Washington, that Joe Kent himself is a whistleblower, credible whistleblower, aired very articulately, then I would say you got to be careful because you might be accused of being controlled opposition at that point. You have to be careful because it's one thing to make an argument and be open for debate. It's another thing to attack people and sort of impugn them with accusations of bad faith arguments or anti-Semitism. Then you're stepping into a fray there that I think it's going to be very hard, to defend yourself at that point in the current open environment, because it's a very open conversation now about this stuff. And this is a forbidden conversation before. You said Greater Israel Project. You were a conspiracy theorist and an anti-Semite just 2 years ago. Now, because Israel themselves have said there's a Greater Israel Project, now we and Tucker Carlson and everybody can safely talk about it and not get canceled. So at this point, anyone attacking us or anybody making these obvious observations I don't think they're not going to do themselves any credibility help to their own credibility, because it's just running against the natural flow of the information analysis that's now being finally aired openly. And the reason is because people can see the damage that it's caused. And Trump is the ultimate expression of that. So again, if you take politics out and you just analyze this like it's some kind of dry document, the world, no, it has people in politics involved. It's got money. It's got mafia. It's got corruption. Not just corporations. It's got organized crime syndicates. It's got Epstein. These are all factors in the mix. But some people don't want to get too involved in that, especially if all roads lead back to Israel or to the Israeli lobby. That makes some people very uncomfortable. What I'm saying is, fine, you can be uncomfortable about that, but don't go attacking people for making what is an obvious observation about what's happening. That's my position on it. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there. And again, no disrespect to Bryan Berletic at all. I think he's just, for some reason, he's on a kind of a jihad of sorts on this issue. I'm not sure, but
well, it can be very exciting to find things in white papers, things that dovetail with current events and things that we're talking about. I mean, as an example, it wasn't long ago that comedian Dave Smith is out there on a lot of big shows talking about these topics and debating some of the big names on the other side of that argument, like Murray and all that stuff. But he was, he leans on Wesley Clark's comments about PNAC quite a bit. And in one of his debates, someone brought up the fact that, well, Wesley Clark didn't even see that document. He was repeating what he was told about it. And that's kind of a big hole in you leaning on the document. So it's kind of like you get into this nuanced area, like you were pointing out, where, just the entire topic is important, but at the same time, there's a nuance to it. And if you pin your whole thing on like one person's report or on an aging white paper, like I reference weapons of mass migration a lot. And frankly, it's an outdated document at this point, but it does, still provide some historical reference, and it shows the type of things that, people that write and read white papers were interested in. And there's a lot of things you can find out if you, read all the sourcing and the footnotes and all that kind of stuff and look into all the people involved. But, even in Dave Smith's case, it's like, well, okay, let's set General Wesley Clark aside and just look, like I was saying, look at what happened in Syria. Look what happened in Libya. Look what happened in all these different Middle Eastern countries. Look what happened to us on 9/11. Whatever you want to classify that as, like this all, like the historical record fits with that sort of mindset, and that's probably the more important, like higher level thing. And, Dave has, since corrected himself on that, and it's very easy for him to argue his way through that now. But the first time it was presented to him, it was a speed bump, and I think we've, all of us that have been on camera a lot have had a couple of those here and there, and we learn from them. And, it doesn't mean necessarily, I hope that, Bryan Berletic is the guy that coined pandemic industrial complex, something that we used a lot during that time and still use to this day, and I really appreciated his work in 2020, 2021, and lots
absolutely.
of it, so I hope this is just one of those situations like I'm describing here. But who knows, it's really hard to wrestle fiat out of the matrix when you're doing this kind of stuff. So, there's always the possibility that someone got paid off and everything. And I know everybody's so black-pilled. It's like, there he said it. Now I know. And
it's not even getting paid off. There could be somebody that has maybe is married to a Jewish person or themselves is half Jewish, and they feel like it's an attack on them personally. I'm not saying that's the case with Bryan, but that's also something that could come into play if people are making that argument one way or the other. And you have to take all that stuff into consideration, obviously. But, a lot of people have weighed in here on the comments, guys, on this. Both of you are wrong. It is the Zionist billionaires that control Israel and the U.S. No, we're not both wrong. We're making analytical arguments, okay? So you're wrong to say that we're wrong. Is it possible that Zionist billionaires control Israel and the U.S.? Yeah, that's very possible. a lot of control, definitely.
Of course, look at Witkoff. You asked about Witkoff and
Ronald
Jared
Lauder, Les
earlier.
Wexner,
Yeah, a lot of
Jeffrey
these guys,
Epstein.
these are people that are directly associated with the Rothschild family. You know what I mean? Like people that are there. So yeah, of course, like, you know, it just depends how far you're zooming out, you know?
Yeah. So, I'm not going to speak to the motivation of anybody on this, but, you know, we're stating facts as well. We're stating facts. You can't just ignore a financial, basically bribery network that's bought off all of our congressmen and senators to vote certain ways and to basically confirm certain cabinet members like Pete Hegseth that are Israel cultists. You know, there's also the religious angle. This isn't just a state. This is a state that has a religious symbol on its aircraft when it does carpet bombing. That's not any state. Okay, this is when you add religion in and zealotry and fundamentalism, things get turned up to a much more intense volume on this. You're dealing with something bigger than politics at that point. You're into history now. You're into the Crusades. You're into major historical important events that can shift large groups of people. And that's where we're at right now. So, you know, it's not just a dry document, folks. There's a lot of factors involved. People, politics, religion, cults, belief sets, all that stuff. Corruption, bribery, blackmail, all of it. Societal corruption, it's all part of this. You know, you have to look at everything. And the solution is going to be political. I'm sorry, you know, and if you're not involved in society or politics, or you're not, you know, ever returning to the United States, then you actually don't have any skin in the game, and you're not really going to be interested in the political side. You've just written it all off. But one way or the other, whether it's the overthrow of a government, a president, or impeachment, or whatever, it's going to be something political is going to happen. And it has changed in the past, and empires have fallen. And it's been politics and economics that have done it. It's been the change of the mood of the view of the people on certain issues that have transformed the politics. You know, that there wouldn't have been a Good Friday peace agreement between Northern Ireland and the Republic if there wasn't a fundamental shift in the generational thinking in politics, because they couldn't sign that deal 20 years earlier. That's just the reality. Same goes for today with the issue of Israel. We couldn't have this conversation about Israel without getting deplatformed just 5 years ago. Off. This live broadcast would be taken down immediately, and that'd be the end of that. And we're not even the most extreme. You know, there's people much more out there on this issue than us, and much bigger platforms. You know, like the Hodge twins or all these leading podcasts. Tucker himself, you know, no one's getting canceled. So what's happened? The conversation's changed because the political atmosphere has changed, because world events have changed it. And because the conversation's changed and the Overton window shifting, the policy will shift. There will never be a U.S. president as pro-Israel as Donald Trump ever again. And Netanyahu is a keen student of U.S. politics, and he understands that. That's why they're going for broke right now, to grab whatever they possibly can and to start whatever wars they possibly can because of that. So again, that's a political dynamic. That's a political dynamic as well as a military dynamic and a cultural dynamic. So all of this stuff matters. This conversation we have matters. The collective conversation matters. And that's where change will ultimately come from. Everybody knows the U.S. is running a military-industrial complex and a massive transnational corporate empire and an intelligence industrial complex. Everybody knows that. But that's not the only factor that's steering things. And there's a big political and also religious, fundamentalist religious vein that goes through America. It's huge. It's huge. It's always been huge in America. America's always had a Christian fundamentalist vein running through it that's very, very strong in society since the beginning of the country. And what we're seeing now, I think, is just a new expression of that. It was already there. But you're seeing the whole Israel issue and the clash of civilizations, the global war on terror. This is all created. It's culminating now into a crescendo. And Donald Trump is the maestro at the end of the climax of this orchestra that's been building for many decades. And we're witnessing it now. So all we're doing here, guys, is trying to unpack that and try to understand what it means. I will yield the rest of my time to you guys for final thoughts and comments. Go ahead.
I'm just tired of seeing rubble where people used to be, man. I would like that to stop, and I do not want to see so much of this psychological operation-based propaganda, war propaganda. It's just, the torrent of it is unhealthy. The human mind and body was not made to receive this kind of, outrage, all the hormones associated with outrage, this much, oxytocin, serotonin, all this rush of things that's like compressing our attention span and expanding our fight or flight sort of human reaction, all completely attached to this thing and this thing that I'm speaking into right now. It's just too much for everybody. And people know that, people understand that. And I appreciate that people stick with us and stick in it because it moves so quickly that, we're sort of, actual journalists and actual analysts who are online every week or every day are really the people that are taking the bullet for everybody else that, all of you that are out there willing to watch us, to read us, to listen to us, however you find us. And we do our best to have a measured response and make any of our own biases well known so that you know us well. And at the same time, take an analytical take on what we're seeing. And we just really appreciate you for hanging with us every Sunday and for being a frequent visitor at 21stcenturywire.com and alternatecurrentradio.com, checking Ruckus out on Weaponized News, hitting up Boiler Room. We really appreciate all that. Like we've said many times, if you haven't liked or subscribed or do that common thing that viewers do on whatever platform you're watching us on, that means a lot. Comments in the main comment thread after the show are appreciated. Shares, all that stuff. You don't need to be afraid to share anything these days about geopolitics because the Overton window is just very, very open. I'd say it's wide open simply because it's so wide open that it's stuffed with psyops. It's a information overload. So for those of you that choose to hang with us while we may try to make sense of what's going on, we really appreciate that because we know this is a toxic media flow that we're all dealing with here. And we go to great efforts to make our presentations somewhat fun and as informative as possible, considering the geopolitical and societal and cultural environment that we all find ourselves in as 21st century men and women. All right. And everybody else too, if you don't fit into either of those categories. So love you guys. And thanks for having me. Check out Boiler Room. We got a new one up. It's on the website, alternatecurrentradio.com. We did that last night, and we got elevated last night. Ruckus and I were in 1/6 gravity while we were doing the show, trying to have a good time with our Saturday night while we go over all this stuff. So we appreciate you and everything you do, Patrick. Thanks for having us. And it was great seeing you recently. And I'm really excited for some of the things that we talked about to come to the public audience.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot to look forward to there. And again, check out Boiler Room. Ruckus might do his normal program, on-screen program there from ACR's website. But Ruckus, go ahead.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, thanks for having me again, Patrick. Man, it really is hard to be elevated. Me and Hesher were elevated, not the way Patrick's been elevated on his walk and talks, climbing up the mountain. Dangerous stuff. You be careful out there, sir. We're all worried about you. No, good stuff. We love it. It's getting him a lot of views. Speaking of elevating, this program, as well as Boiler Room and some other great programs out there, including my friend and colleague Sam Chaney, his program, Weaponized News, are all growing. I think Jason Burmis is also growing. I think it's a fine side effect to the wild times that we live in, and we need to keep growing. So keep sharing, keep doing your thing, keep clicking that like button. I'm just trying my hardest to be elevated in all of this news. I'm very upset with the state of affairs. I'm very upset that we have a psychopathic, childish acting baby bawling and throwing temper tantrums. I mean, that's the president of the country that I live in. So, I mean, he's acting like a baby, but the toys that he's playing with are human lives. And I'm not down for that. Of course, please make sure you guys check us out over at alternatecurrentradio.com. You can see the most recent episode of Boiler Room right here. There it is. That was the graphic for that one. A really nice, like, science fiction, Isaac Asimov, Dune kind of thing. Anatomy of a Controlled Future. Go check it out, everybody. You also find my most recent appearance on Weaponized News with Sam Chaney right there, as well as all the previous instances of Boiler Room, Sunday Wire, and podcasts from our friends Mystical American Patriot Society and The Odd Man Out. That's where you find all that. alternatecurrentradio.com. Again, just do what Bill Cooper taught us and you're going to be okay. Read everything. Listen to everybody. Don't believe anything unless you prove it for yourself using your own research. Thanks again, Patrick.
Thank you, Ruckus. You've got that one down cold. Is that what Cooper said?
Yep.
That was his, yeah. You've got that down cold. That's a good one. That's a keeper. Bill Cooper. What a legend.
Yeah.
I wonder what he would be saying right about now. That would be very interesting, wouldn't it?
He's rolling in that grave, unfortunately.
You could flip between InfoWars and Bill Cooper's show on the radio.
I can just hear it. Cool? I can hear his voice. It's almost like he's still here. I can hear the tone he would have to some of these.
Yeah, that would certainly be interesting. And maybe the old Alex Jones, if we got him back. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Remember old Alex? Vintage Alex? That would be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Police State Alex?
Yeah. Terror Storm Alex?
Yeah.
Pre-Trump Alex? Anybody? Anyone? Okay.
Pre-Trump anyone?
If you see him, let us know. Let us know. We were on the lookout. If there's any alerts. If anyone sees Vintage Alex, I saw him on JP. JP Awake. JP Sears did a little kind of satirical sketch, a couch trip type psychological evaluation of Alex, an IQ test, I think. That was it was good, but it's Alex running straight in there. JP, to his credit, he jumped off the Trump train early, a little bit earlier than some of these others. So he's kind of a little bit of a leader there. But I mean, there's a lot of flack in the comment section about Megyn Kelly and some of these people. And yes, it has to be acknowledged. These are all mainstream media people who decamped into the independent media and colonized it and took over. Russell Brand, Joe Rogan, Megyn Kelly. They took the gravitas and their following and their corporate, audience. And they, and a lot of them were slow to the punch, to put it lightly. In fact, in some cases, completely useless when it was really needed. They're completely useless. So we have to make that fair remark. But they can come out late and say, "Oh, I was fooled. I didn't know," and I'm being attacked for it now. And so, okay, yeah, but you're a millionaire. You're a multimillionaire.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what you can expect when your name and your personality is a prepackaged marketable brand, right? Like think Tulsi Gabbard, think even Tucker Carlson, all kinds of people with their name is a prepackaged marketable brand. And then you're going to go into independent podcasting. Well, I'm sorry, that's what we're doing. We produce for each other. We edit for each other. We check each other. We discuss with each other. We broadcast with each other. These people, just to be real about it, They have multiple line producers, an executive producer, a social media manager, a brand manager. They have a team of lawyers. Okay. So if one of these people wants to say, okay, I'm an independent podcaster now, you're not really, because you've got 12 people around you at minimum who are on your staff, and their salary is attached to the stuff that you say, right? So if you're a Megyn Kelly or one of these people, and you come out right out of the gates on your first podcast after leaving whatever mainstream thing you did, and you start talking like we do here at the Sunday Wire, guess what? All those advertisers that your team of 12 people whipped up for you leave, because the Overton window hasn't caught up with you yet. This is the same reason why Fox News would not politicize or talk about COVID-19 84 until it became a blessed thing to say. You know what I mean? Until it became, okay, it's now okay for this to be a political talking point just in time for the midterms. That's how this stuff works. So it's like, I myself have my own personal theories about that group of podcasters. In my private life, I refer to them as the CIA podcasters, which is just a term that I use. Okay. Sean Ryan fits in that too. But you have to understand that these people have giant teams around them. Sean in particular has a former CIA agent there as a producer and presenter on his show. Do you really think he's like we do, sitting down and writing notes on paper, clacking stuff out, making sure we got all? I'm sorry, I'm ranting when you're trying to close the show, Patrick, but I think people really need to understand, like, we don't have that kind of thing circling around us. And if we did, it would be things that we put in place, and we hope to put in place, because we would have editorial control over them. But that's not the situation we're in, just due to who we are and what we say and how far outside the Overton window we've been for years and years and years. That's why we're called the Social Rejects Club on the Boiler Room, because we've said things that have completely alienated us from normies over the years. And now the normies are catching up, and they're going, well, what's going on with, all my favorite podcasters? Well, guess what? They're not like us. They're not self-funded.
Yeah, it's a different culture in a different environment. Here's one: eat your groceries. Kurt Lazarus. In my humble opinion, the vast majority of alternative media is really mainstream alternative media. There's only a handful of honest actors like yourselves and Jimmy Dore, etc. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yep, thank you so much. Jimmy's a mainstream comedian, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I mean, a liberal mainstream comedian. Just saying. Jimmy is a pioneer in a sense that he pioneered YouTube for a lot of other comedians. But it's like the only people who get platformed in America in mainstream alternative, you have to be an ex-comedian. No disrespect to Dave. I love Dave Smith, but he gets platformed all over the place, but he's an ex-comedian. Jimmy Dore's an ex-comedian. Joe Rogan's an ex-comedian, etc. They're not, I don't think they're as great of performers as Tim Dillon. I say is a very good performer. He's a talented performer in his character, but yeah, it's kind of annoying. And Jon Stewart on the left, comedian. So where do I get my news? Oh, the Daily Show with Jon Stewart. Come on,
infotainment. Infotainment, and those types of infotainments have even a bigger staff around them, full Hollywood cadre, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything's scripted. Nothing is ad hoc.
Yeah. So it is the independent media has become a kind of a mainstream space that's dominated by people from the main corporate mainstream, basically. That have kind of occupied and colonized the majority of the mainstream or alternative. I call it alternative. I don't even know what to call it anymore. But so it's slightly better than the cable news corporate sphere. Slightly better, and a lot can be done in that space, and that's great. And it has opened them up. Let's be honest. Tucker has more free speech on his own platform than he did on Fox. Let's be honest. And then people have benefited from that. I think society has benefited from that as a whole. Ditto with others. Like when Candace Owens was on PragerU, She can't say anything about Israel. That's for sure. So now she's not. So, I mean, these people in their own way have helped to push the over the window. Even Joe Rogan helps push it. Although Joe waits a year and a half before like even giving it a nudge. And as soon as everyone else has pushed it, then Rogan can speak freely and join the conversation. Like Russell,
you still gotta be a little bit careful though when some of your main sponsors are Israeli companies. I would imagine you probably don't want to go too far with that. But to his credit, he's definitely come late to the game and allowed his audience to say their piece on it.
Yeah, so I give full props to all those people that Trump is attacking. The fact that he is attacking them shows you that they're actually probably doing a good job, I think. Except for Alex, I'm a little bit disappointed. Alex, kind of a cheerleader for this war and the Venezuelan illegal war, and also talking up the clash of civilizations a little bit too much in the last recent months and in the year with Trump, demonizing the Iranians and Islam.
He seemed to kind of like lose his staff a little bit there. Harrison and Owen and people like that were kind of pointing out things like this, and arguably some of the rumors were that they had something to do with Owen's departure, right? And you got to wonder what that's done to that audience and everything.
Yeah, James Corbett was the first to get deplatformed, and so James Corbett's absolutely a pioneer of independent media, no doubt.
Good to see him coming back. I actually see his work show up in my recommends now. I hadn't seen that in a long time.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So credit where credit's due. Everyone deserves some credit for something. Everyone's playing some kind of a role, if you will. So that's either all coming up in the Judge Knapp is a G. Yeah, Judge Knapp has been awesome. He has opened up a dialogue space on YouTube that didn't exist before. That's probably very influential on foreign policy now. Everyone in Washington watches it. So they don't really take much heed to Fox, but they do religiously watch Judge Knapp. But again, Judge Knapp's from Fox News. So but to his credit, he was fired from Fox News, so he gets a tremendous amount of props for that. And he's been great. He's been absolutely great. So people making comments about, there's all these Catholics. Tucker's a Catholic. Megyn Kelly's a Catholic. Judge Knapp's a Catholic. Joe Kent's a Catholic. Is there a little pattern going on here? I don't know.
I'm not opposed to the Jesuit controlled secret society nudging campaign on these people. I think that is an argument that can be made, and if it can be disproven, I would love to hear from you.
Well, there's no proof that they're Jesuit run. That's his whole. You have to show some proof for that. But what it is it's the last thing I'll say, and it's Sunday, so hey, service day. Pope Leo came out basically saying the Iraq war is immoral, and that he's not going to accept Pete Hegseth praying to Jesus for our troops bombing Iraq. It's just not. It's a no-go. The Catholic Church in my whole lifetime never got involved in these politics. They had a hands-off policy on the whole Iraq war, like because they just want to get involved with it and then get in the battle with the government. 501c3 status on churches, all sorts of threats were made. So, and now you have an American Pope who's now at war with the Trump administration over this war. And guess what? Things are getting interesting. And now priests are starting to actually mention this by name at Sunday Mass. So I'm telling you, and this shifts the needle because all those Latinos for Trump, if you make a Hispanic person choose between the church and Trump, I know who's going to win that battle. And it's not going to be the orange man. And that goes for the Filipinos for Trump, and that goes for lots of people. And also all the converts. And we already know where the Orthodox Church is on these issues. They're pretty clear. They've been on, always been on, I think, the right side of these issues. If you're Orthodox, this isn't really a complicated debate. But for Catholicism, it's been heavily politicized over the years, especially after Vatican II, especially in America, and the Jesuit secret societies and influence and networks are part of that, as Hesher mentioned. That's part of that story, and the overlap with the U.S. intelligence and Jesuits. But also there's a Mormon branch to the CIA as well as every other.
Every single one has a branch, man.
Yes, a Christian Zionist branch as well. So anyway, it's all part of the conversation. Are you happy? Are we happy the Pope is pushing back against this war? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. Are we happy that he's getting threatened by Trump and Pete Hegseth? Yeah, that's a good sign. That means maybe something actually is happening. That's all I'm going to say. Let the cards fall where they may on that.
Yeah, and it is Orthodox Easter, so happy Easter to our Orthodox friends.
Yeah, we have a few Orthodox listeners. Happy Easter to everybody, and big shout out to Jay Dyer as well, who is a very good and popular and strong advocate for the Orthodox Church as well, out there in the blogosphere and the podcasting sphere. All religions were created to help collect tithes, land, and stop the pitchforks. You could argue that as well. Are the Catholic Zionists? There are Zionist Catholics, yes.
Heck yeah.
Indeed, there are. They do exist. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff coming through. Hey, listen, you guys, awesome. Take care. Thank you, Ruckus and Hesher. Do follow ACR, Alternate Current Radio. There's a link on our show page. Go there and just be amazed by the content, by the quality of the hosts, by the production, and the visual experience that you will have when you're surfing the Alternate Current Radio's website. It's unlike anything else on the internet. So encourage people to go there, and so also support ACR. Ruckus is throwing up here. Yes, that's it is a work of art. The ACR website, the whole website's a work of art, basically. And you'll see when you start clicking around Alternate Current Radio, you'll start seeing it is one of the most beautifully designed websites ever. So it is nice on the eye. Let's just put it that way. It's nice on the eye. And just another reason to go there and scroll for your favorite content as well. So a lot of good programming there. And of course, the Boiler Room is the flagship show of that network. Gentlemen, have a great weekend.
Thanks, Patrick. Great show today, and I look forward to doing it again next week.
We're praying for a boring week coming up.
Yes, very much so.
Let's all get together and have a big praying for a boring, non-eventful week. Let it happen. Let it happen. Thank you very much, you guys. There they go, ladies and gentlemen. That's Bryan McClain, Hesher, also Adam Clark, also known as Ruckus. You can find them on the Alternate Current Radio Network. That's all we got time for today. Appreciate your engagement, your comments, everybody. It's been great having you. We're really, we're very happy also to say hello to our new listeners and people who have joined the show. As Ruckus mentioned, we've got quite a renewed interest on our YouTube channel, and I've been putting up some new comments there, some new content there, some new videos, and doing a lot of trying out a new walk and talk format. And well, we did quite a bit this week and last week, but we may not do as much each week, but we'll see how it goes. But that seems to be people seem to be engaging with it, seem to like it, so we're going to continue doing more of it. So again, and that's all because of your help, because of your support that we're able to do that. So thank you guys for everyone that's helped us along the way. If you want to support our platform and some of the productions we're doing, as well as the great journalism that we're doing daily, the articles, the reports daily at 21stcenturywire.com. You can just go to our support page, just donate. There's a link in the description below. And this is how we keep it going, folks. So we had a good winter fundraising drive we're able to start working on a lot of things that we weren't able to do before, and it's also helping to secure some of our budget for the coming year, 2026. So again, we're working hard, and we've been going since 2009. So we're still here, and we're doing better than ever. So that should tell you something. We are 100% independent. We're absolutely reader and viewer driven and supported. Without any doubt, that's what we are as a platform. So make no mistake about it. Anything that you do give us to help will go to immediately into good usage. And we're able to do a lot with less. There's people that aren't doing what we're doing, and they've got a double or triple or quadruple the operating budget that we have. And I don't even want to talk about some of the multi-million-dollar funded platforms that produce absolute pap in terms of content. But I don't want to get into their sort of knocking other platforms. We mentioned one or two of them today, but that's just to say, folks, that we can do a lot with very little, and we're able to make it go really far and make a big impact. And we're starting to do that now, and that's because of your support. It's literally directly from your support. So if you like what we do, if you like the type of content we do, and you like this work, you like what you're seeing and how we're handling the issues here on a daily and weekly basis, then by all means, go to our website, hit the gold button, hit the link below, support 21st Century Wire and all of our various media activities, journalistic activities. It's all there, folks. We really appreciate it. If you missed any of the Sunday Wire, you just go to our archive page. That's also available on the main page, and you'll see in podcast format, audio and video. And you can also find these archives as well at Alternate Current Radio, along with the other content that's up there as well. So again, thank you for your ongoing support. And this is it. This is episode 590 of the Sunday Wire, brought to you here at 21stcenturywire.com. Thank you for everybody on the live stream. Thank you for the retweets, for the restreams as well. All of it. It's all because you are engaged, and we love you for it. We'll play some more of the comments on the outro with some of our videos going out at the end of the program. But that's all I've got time for today. We shall see you very soon, probably in the next day or so. Keep an eye on our channels. There's more content coming. All the best.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me the profound honor of addressing this great citadel of democracy for the fourth time.
And thanks to bombs that wreck Gaza one more time for helping me pin it on Iran. That's the crime. Let me spin you a tale, talk to you in its bedtime.
Our world is in upheaval.
We brand our foes as evil, it's our goal to spell. Labels ready-made, we wield them well. Terrorists, anti-Semites, animals all on sale. Every option laid out, no detail is too frail. Let me share my plan, it's all about me. Survival's the goal, friends, just let me be. Uncle Sam sends dollars, bombs, arms, endlessly. Through twisted lenses, he pretends to see clearly. I could quote the Bible, but that's just for show. It's occupation versus civilization, as you know. Accusations by confession, the truth's on a low. Decades of incarceration, yet you clap for the show.
We win, they lose.
I can't breathe anymore, this noose is too tight. Just not as I blame in the dead of the night. We're criminals in truth, but that's our plight. Gentlemen in the headlines, painted in white.
Suddenly, heaven turned into hell.
We raised the homes, gave the order to shell. Bomb schools, mosque, hotels, there's more to tell. Not just that, hospitals fell as well. Thank you, madams and sirs, for funding this hell.
I thank President Biden for his heartfelt support for Israel.
Think this ain't real, it's all colonial play. Joe helps me claim defense in the broad daylight. Good man he is, though his words sway, supporting me, even when his talk's not right. They've killed with rage, Arab women, kids in their prime. Gaza's an open-air cage, living on borrowed time. More deaths on the way, they've sworn the crime. So we pin badges of courage in this bloody rhyme. What in God's green earth am I ranting about? I'll take you on a ride, no doubt. but can't lie about genocide, that's out. Humanity's priceless, funds are what it's about. They call it occupation, a regime of hate, a racist dream built on a bloodthirsty state, causing death, grief, and pain at every gate. Yet I stand here and you still wait, and what I'm doing, I stand up in disguise, playing the victim, that's my prize. But ouch, they're burning me in effigy skies.
And I want to say thank you, America.
I love you and your hamburgers, that's no bluff. My soldiers loved you as pampers, just enough. No more Octobers, but we had our stuff. And we were the symbol of heroic grace. Not apartheid or racist in any place. Butter wouldn't melt in my mouth, no trace. From north to south, where the embrace face.
They call Israel a colonialist state.
I think I'm kidding, grab the Times, take a read. Ask the White House, they're trying to lead, but they need more training to follow my creed.
That Iran is funding and promoting anti-Israel protests in America. They want to disrupt America.
Speak of Iran, my arms go weak, my mouth goes sour. Let's find a new land to devour. Their might threatens our tower, hour by hour. Victory's near, but is it on my side? Defeating the enemies where I can find, but that's not in me. So prayers I need, and tax dollars, so my plans can proceed. We aim to make Gaza unlivable, our Nobel Prize. Then find a new place to colonize. Take the world back from the infidel guys. Make this region a 5-star paradise. Thank you, my lies have reached their demise.
Israel does not seek to resettle Gaza.
Have reached their demise. Thank you, my lies.
Show of secret talks, a cold stealing serpent calls, buildings burn, masking riot shots. It's TV terror, watch the will of God. Hey, here we are, heaven come down. Here we are, heaven come down. The culture cults consuming all our lives. Rejuvenate, resist the pulling down. False flags and endless war.